Hey guys, Ryan Sprague here from Somewhere in the Skies, and I want to tell you about something that feels like it was specifically made for us. Those of us who have followed every UFO headline, every whistleblower, every UFO sighting and close encounter that literally defined the past year in UFOs. And that is anomalous cards. Anomalous cards are a one-of-a-kind collectible series, capturing the top 100 UAP and UFO stories of 2025. Preserved, documented, and brought to life in a format you can actually hold in your hands. We're talking about 100 uniquely designed trading cards, each one representing a pivotal moment in the unfolding UAP conversation. Every single card is individually serial numbered, making each piece of art a limited historical archive. Not just a collectible, but a timestamp of disclosure in motion. And here's where it gets even more exciting. You can collect the full story your way. Grab a complete factory set and own the entire timeline of 2025. Or dive into the thrill of discovery with cello packs and boxes, each containing the chance to uncover exclusive Heroes of Truth insert cards, spotlighting the individuals pushing this mystery into the light. This isn't just memorabilia, it's a curated record of one of the most important years in UAP history. Head over to letsgetanomalous.com right now to grab your set or packs. And for Somewhere in the Skies listeners, you get an exclusive promo code right now for 15% off your order. That promo code is Somewhere15. Again, go to letsgetanomalous.com and use the promo code Somewhere15 for 15% off your order. Because the UFO story is still unfolding, and now you can collect it all with anomalous cards.
Reports of flying saucers are nothing new. From the beginning of recorded time, men have been seeing unexplainable things in the sky, and there's no reason to doubt they saw something. The question is, was what they saw really there? And what was it they really saw?
There's nothing to hide. There's nothing to hide at all.
What's up? Welcome to Somewhere in the Skies Live. I am your host, Ryan Sprague. We're at it again. Man, are we spoiling the hell out of you guys? No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. You're spoiling me. You are entertaining me. I have had a lot of free nights as of late. It's so rare. It is so rare. And I'm loving it. And you would think I live in Europe. Why don't I just go gallivant across this beautiful, beautiful set of islands and countries? No, I want to talk about alien abductions. That's what I want to do. And I want to do that with you guys tonight. These are, Suzanne and I do the live stream every Sunday, which we will be doing this Sunday, where we break down all the latest UFO news, everything that's current and in the headlines. But I thought with these live streams, let's go back in time. You know, UFO history is so rich with incredible cases and topics. I mean, just a couple days ago, we talked about 5 Area 51 whistleblowers. Before that, we did a whole contact in the desert question and answer session. Something traveling says I can't read it. It's backwards. Suzanne's showing me something in the green room. I'll have to have her show me. You're gonna have to write it backwards. Uh, but yeah. So I like, you know what? These are a good opportunity to go back in time. As you see, we've got a communion image for you tonight. We're gonna be changing up the images on the wall in HQ. Lawyer says no gallivanting. I love it. Okay, fine. Wrong word. What would be the right word? Whoring it up? Europeans Euro trip? Let's go with that. Let's go with that. I'm digging the new theme music. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, buddy. What are you guys drinking tonight? I'm simple man tonight. Just coffee. Just coffee for me tonight. I am all these live streams. I've been tipping back a beer or wine, and I need a break. I need a break. Um, Lushy Ryan needs a break, but also another new thing we're doing. You might be visiting us from a different link. We're now doing vertical live streams as well. This is a new feature that our streaming platform, StreamYard, offers for those who watch stuff on their phone. You know, we're so used to like the TikTok generation of vertical videos, Instagram stories. So now they offer that. So I could see there's a bunch of you watching us on vertical as well. So welcome to our vertical watchers and welcome to our landscape watchers. We're testing it out, see if people like it. It seems to be getting equal amount of views as our other one. So, I mean, can't say no to it, I guess. I don't know how good it looks vertically. Um, but you guys let me know. Let me know in the chat or in the comments if you dig the vertical version, if you're watching us from there, or if you like just the normal landscape, you know, widescreen version that I'm seeing right now. Team landscape. Love it, Jay Allen. Love it, love it. Coca-Cola, Red Thunder, Pat with the Red Thunder again. Love it, love it. Um, I'm embarrassed to say I've never heard of Kelly Cahill. Interesting. Yeah, you know, Suzanne and I were talking off air. We're not too familiar with the case. Now, the reason we're covering it tonight is because this upcoming week on the podcast, I'm speaking to UFO researcher from Australia, Grant Levac, and we just celebrated the 60th anniversary of the Westall incident of 1966, an incredible UFO landing case out of Australia. And Grant and I talked for over 2 hours about it. He shared exclusive interviews with the primary witnesses that were involved with the Westall event. They were kids at the time, but he was able to interview a handful of them, and we're sharing those exclusive interviews in that episode. We also have a very rare interview with UFO researcher James McDonald, who interviewed one of the teachers that was involved with the UFO landing as well. This all happened at Westall High School. So there's a bunch of students who witnessed this. Over 300 students saw a UFO land. And some teachers as well. So we know this wasn't just kids making stuff up or pranking the teachers. Like this was a legit event. There were other witnesses who say that there were military aircraft following the UFO or UFOs, as Grant and I discussed. And it's a fascinating case, and it just does not get the credit it deserves. So Grant and I broke it all down at length, and you guys are going to absolutely love it with these rare interviews included as well. So that's coming to you this week. But I thought let's stay with the Australia theme. And I was digging through the Australian UFO files, going through cases from Bill Chalker and Keith Basterfield, and a lot of these other Australian researchers. And I came across this alien abduction case that I didn't really know anything about. And the more I started watching interviews with the woman we're going to be talking about tonight, Kelly Cahill, the more I was like, wow, this seems very genuine. And terrifying, as you will see. So what we're going to be sharing with you guys tonight is a interview. I'll be honest, I dug and I looked as much as I could. I don't know who the interviewer is or what show this is. It looks like kind of a local morning talk show or something, but it's a really good length interview with Kelly Cahill talking about her abduction experience. And then I'm also going to share some other news clips and stuff from Kelly Cahill's event. Um, and then I found a case a year after hers in Australia with another woman named Grace Askew. And I'm going to share that with you guys. And then we're going to cap things off at the end of the night with a event that is near and dear to my heart. And that is the Knowles family UFO encounter that happened in Australia back in 1988. Crazy case, crazy case where a family was in their car out in the outback, and their car and UFO came over it, and it lifted their car off the ground and then dropped it back on the road. Crazy. You're going to hear right from the family as well later on. But yeah, so that's what we're going to be covering tonight. I will be bringing in Suzanne to join us, and we're just going to do some commentary like we've been doing with this stuff. We might break during the interview and just discuss it with you guys, get your thoughts, your opinions, your questions. We would love to get you guys more involved in this conversation, so it's not just us babbling the whole time. The speaking of babbling, the super chat and super stickers will be open all night if you would like to help out the show. This is a really supportive way that you can help us out. It's immediate help for the show, for everything we do. You know, these streams, they're free for you to watch, but they're not free for us to create. The streaming software, the time and the work that we put into this stuff. And yeah, it adds up. A lot of unforeseen costs with the web hosting and blah blah blah. I don't have to tell you guys all this. I am also not guilting you into donating, but I'm just letting you know the super chat and super stickers will be open all night. We will highlight your questions and comments if you use the super chat, and we will definitely acknowledge that. So we appreciate it. Anything you can do to help would be greatly appreciated. Now, the last two streams, if you did a super chat or super sticker, you were going to be entered into a lottery or a contest, I guess, to win one of my signed books. We're opening it up again. So that's now 3 books that I'm going to be giving away for you guys of one of my books, whichever one you want. And I'll sign it, ship it off to you wherever you live. So if you do any super chats or super stickers tonight, you will be entered into that. I'm keeping track of all the super stickers and super chats during the live streams. And yeah, hopefully you will be one of the lucky winners if my books mean anything to you. But I think that's it. Hello to all the regulars in the chat. Good to see you guys here. Good to see you. Ooh, some new names. Hello. Love it. Love it. Spooky. We're going to be talking. This case is spooky. I can tell you that much. The Kelly Cahill case. For sure. Let's see. What is a carajillo, J. Allen? Carajillo? Carajillo? The J silent, right? You guys let me know. I would love to know what that is. Sounds good. Okay. Do I have anything else? Oh, I'm gonna bring Suzanne in because I want to get her thoughts on this. I definitely want to get her thoughts on this. Whoa, she sent me some huge link. Wonder what that is. Don't click on it. Spam. She's spamming me. Why are you spamming me?
I'm spamming you because that's what a carajillo is.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Now I want to know.
Yeah, now, since you're clipped on the gallivanting part, you may now look at a carajillo.
Oh, that looks good.
It does look good, doesn't it? We've learned a little something not alien related today.
Right? Brandy, rum, mezcal, and coffee liqueur. Whoa.
Yeah.
That is right up my alley. I love like coffee liqueur drinks, Kahlua. I love White Russians.
Oh, me too.
That sounds like it's right up my alley.
Yeah, he says to shake it like I guess like a martini.
Yes, shaken, not stirred. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm losing my mind. You know, we're in this big move from Memphis, Tennessee to Santa Fe full time. So we're disassembling this house and all the stuff here. And I don't do well in disorder, but I'm rocking along.
You are a trooper. And then you're joining us for this. You are crazy.
Absolutely. It's Friday night. Why not?
Why not? Thank God it's Friday, right?
Yeah.
Are you guys, who's at work right now? Who's like
we
in
know
the bathroom watching us?
Jay Allen might be at work.
Jay Allen.
He's usually at work, but he still clicks in.
That's so nice. Thanks, buddy.
So kind. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know it's so weird. You know, it's 9:30 at night already here. So I forget that the people in the States and even further back, West Coast, Mexico, anywhere, like they're all still waking up and doing that stuff. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. And here I am drinking coffee at 9:30 at night.
Starting a live stream. Why not? I love these. We're getting to see so many unusual things. Yeah. And guys, Ryan and I were talking earlier. It's almost joyful for us because we don't have to do days and days of homework. We do a little bit of light reading around it, but then we all kind of experience it together.
Yeah.
And so I'm really liking these.
Me too. Like, and I always make this point, like, I was filming recently and they always ask, like, what do you want to be credited as? Like, podcast host, author, UFO expert. I'm like, nah, definitely not UFO expert because
Yeah.
nobody
There's not
is it.
one of those.
Yeah. This is a democracy. Like, the only reason we're on the screen right now is because I'm the one doing the stream. But I guarantee you there are people in this chat who know more about a lot of this stuff than I do.
Exactly.
And that's what I love. This community that we've created at Somewhere in the Skies is full of some of the brightest people and like most grounded people I've seen when it comes to these communities.
Right. And the best discussions and the best learning tools come from conversations with people from all walks of life and all experiences. So even if someone is not an expert of some kind, they still have a perspective that often has value. So I think that's part of what this community does really well. We all have different things to bring to it. We all have different experiences and we sort it together.
For sure. Yeah, and I get a little bitchy on Twitter and stuff like that.
There might have been a little Twitter spicy Ryan earlier today on certain orbs by certain people. I'm not saying who.
Oh, I wasn't even talking about the Blitz orbs. I was talking about the Lacatsky interview with Corbell and Knapp.
What did I miss? What did I miss? Oh
I listened to it on my run this morning, and I have never run so fast on a treadmill in my life. I was running on pure, not even adrenaline, just pure infuriation, if that's even a word.
Oh my God.
I am so sick of this James Lacatsky guy. I just lost it. I lost it on Twitter, and I do this.
On the treadmill.
I do this. I shoot from the hip. I tweet something. I regret it a day later, and I delete it like every other keyboard warrior. But and I was talking to Micah Hanks today. He's coming on the show on Tuesday.
He's so
great. And we're like, what should we talk about? And he's like, well, I saw your tweet about Lacatsky. I was like,
let's just go straight up there. Why don't we get it out of everybody's system?
Yeah. And for those in the chat who don't know, James Lacatsky was a member of OSAP, the original program that preceded ATIP, the secret Pentagon program. He worked at the Skinwalker Ranch for a while, and he was involved with all of that stuff early on with George Knapp and
absolutely
and all of that.
Yeah, he's also the one Eric Davis says was inside a craft.
Allegedly, yes.
Yeah, allegedly, and that there was no visible means of control or propulsion. So I think he knows a lot, but he has not been a friend to the UFO community with the knowledge that he has.
Right, and that's the problem. These interviews he's on, and you could tell Jeremy Corbell is fed up with him.
Oh, good, good.
Because
I've got to go do that.
Listen to it, because this man walks around in circles. He thinks he's coy and that he's smarter than everyone in the room, and that he's so sneaky and is telling us to read between the lines, when honestly, he's a wet fart. That's it. He's a waste of time.
That's not what gets said on Twitter, but
yeah. In my opinion, I find no value in anything he says. I think he's only making things worse when it comes to disclosure. And I just don't trust him. I do not trust him as far as I can throw him.
You know what it reminds me of, Ryan? There was a judge years ago, long retired, and I heard him say to a lawyer one time who was basically saying he couldn't do this, he couldn't talk about that, those sorts of things. The judge just in a cold, dead stare over his spectacles looks at the guy and says, then why are you here?
Yeah, exactly.
Why are you here? If you want to have a conversation, have it. Otherwise, there's the door.
Yep. And I know why James Lacatsky was on the show, because he just came out with his 5th book or whatever. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the intelligence people playing coy and telling us to read between the lines. And this is why I want to do stuff like this.
Exactly.
I want to talk about crazy ass UFO abductions. That's not to make light of abductions,
That's
because the
right.
ones we're
At
talking
all.
about tonight were very traumatizing for these people.
Sure.
But like, I find more value in stock in these anecdotal experiences of alien abductees than I do this rando dude who said he like saw a werewolf smoking a cigarette on a ranch in Utah. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Whatever. Right.
Yeah, I'm
Whatever.
over it. I'm over it.
Yeah.
It's dullingly boring and gets us nowhere. So
That's right. And so either tell it or get out of the way. And what really irritates me, and I know we need to move on, but now that we're all irritated, it would take a simple executive order setting aside NDAs and giving protection.
Yep.
Literally, with the stroke of an auto pen, the doors could open.
exactly.
And now here we are selling books and talking all around the subject. Anyway, okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
I'm working it out.
In the great words of hip hop / rapper DMX, y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here.
I'm so glad you weren't going to quote Ice Cube like, bye, Felicia. Not Ice Cube. Like, I got to go now, right?
Wow, good reference. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. I love it. Maybe we'll have to do an episode on early hip
Unwrapping.
hop. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Who wants to see us rap? The super chat's open. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I can promise you, no one wants to pay to see me rap.
Me either. Yeah. You don't want to see these two rapping. Andrew
No.
Berger says maybe UFO disclosure is the friends we made along the way.
I
agree.
That.
I agree.
I like that, Andrew.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Trust me, Brokatsky, Pat says. Jay Ellen says,
That's
is he former intelligence? I believe so.
Yeah,
I don't even know, because
and I used to
the
know
dude can't give a straight answer to anything.
he was inside the government, and then Bigelow hired him, as I recall, from that Soul Foundation 2 years ago. And then everything went dark in the contracting world.
Yeah. I don't know. All right. Anyways, we'll talk all about it on Sunday on the live stream.
Yes, we
for
will.
sure. For
We
sure.
will.
But let's get to some abductions. Now, like I said, you're not familiar with this case at all?
I'm not. No.
Okay. Me either. So let's bring her on the screen here. Not that one. There we go. So that's Kelly Cahill. And in August of 1993, near Narra Warren, Victoria, she and her husband encountered a large, silent, egg-shaped craft hovering above the road, surrounded by glowing lights. Cahill reported seeing tall, dark, humanoid figures with red eyes near the object.
Armenia.
After which she experienced missing time and later discovered unusual markings on her body. What makes the case particularly notable, Suzanne, is that several other independent witnesses in the area reported seeing the same craft on the same night, describing similar beings and effects. So we have a multi-witnessed alien abduction case, which is so freaking rare. The only one I can think of right now is Travis Walton.
Well, that's right. That's the only one that I know of is Travis's incident, because the other logging guys got to see the whole thing.
Or the Brooklyn Bridge one. I forgot about that one.
There are witnesses to the Brooklyn Bridge. That's right.
Apparently.
Yeah.
It's if you believe
I know
that
it's
case.
controversial. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. I believe Linda Napolitano recently passed away.
I think she did.
Yeah. Well, that's unfortunate, no matter what you think about the case. Yeah. But we're talking about Kelly tonight. So we have a multi-witnessed UFO abduction, aliens with red eyes. Crazy. So what I think we'll do is start this interview.
Okay.
We have an interview with Kelly. Again, I'm not exactly sure what show this took place on or who the host is, but I watched a little bit of it earlier, and it is a great interview.
Wonderful.
So I guess we'll just play, and if we feel compelled to stop it and talk, or if you guys in the chat think something's worth like stopping and really discussing, you let us know, or we'll put up your comments and questions, and we'll take it from there. Sound good?
Sounds great to me.
All right, so let's hear from Kelly Cahill and her event that happened back in 1993 in Victoria, in Australia. Here we go.
The first thing that think I need to make clear is that the reason why this encounter is actually considered to be a little bit out of the ordinary is the fact that it actually involved multiple witnesses, in fact 3 separate parties of witnesses in 3 separate cars, 6 people in all. And the subsequent investigation recovered a lot of ground traces, including marks on the field and physical marks on the bodies of 4 of the people involved, including myself. So what we have, I guess, is a case that's very unusual and not often encountered. But
yes, you do have extraordinary evidence, which I would love to go into a little bit later in the show to fill our audience in about. Let's start, when did this close encounter begin? What was the year?
The 8th of August 1993, my husband and I were driving home from a friend's house in the Dandenong Mountains, which is probably about 50 kilometres out of Melbourne. And I guess we saw it about twice the height of the treetops from several hundred metres away, something that looked like at first like a blimp, but as we drove closer to it, it looked like a circle of round orange lights. Except in those lights, there appeared to be figures standing in the shadows.
Inside,
behind the orange lights, you could see silhouettes of tall, dark figures.
Wow.
And I had enough time to say to my husband, look at the people in the windows, when it shot off to the left of us, and in a couple of seconds it was totally gone. But that was only the start of it, because we continued driving down the road, and about 2 kilometres later, we ran into what I guess you could call a wall or a screen of light. It seemed that way to me anyway. I actually had to put my hand up to my brow in order to look through the window at the windscreen, and I still couldn't see a thing. From there on, we actually rounded a corner, and what was sitting in the field on the side of the road was a huge craft, probably the size of a 2 to 3 story building and the length of an Olympic swimming pool. So it wasn't something that was really easy to miss, and we pulled the car over, but we weren't the only people that did. 100 metres behind us, a bank manager, his wife and their friend, who's a registered nurse, pulled over, and another 25 to 35 metres behind them, David, a government law department employee, on his way home, actually pulled over as well.
Now, you weren't traveling on the road with these people.
No,
you just noticed when you
didn't know
got
these
out.
people at all.
All right.
So basically we stopped the car, got out, crossed the road. I saw a whole heap of, well actually at first it seemed to be one figure in front of the craft, and then a whole heap of them. I felt at the same time this energy or frequency go through my body, and it's quite difficult to explain it because there really isn't a parallel or comparison, but I think the only way that I might be able to relate it is it felt like a low-level frequency coming in waves through my body, yet it was actually so dense that I could physically feel it, and it literally terrified the living daylights out of me. I mean, when I got out of the car, I was exhilarated, you know. I wasn't frightened when I got out of the car. All I could think is, this is absolutely amazing, and we're seeing something that most people wouldn't get the chance to see in a million lifetimes.
That reminds me so much of Travis Walton. It was like this compelling nature to get out and experience this excitement, adrenaline, not so much fear.
And Betty Hill too. You know, Betty Hill actually tried to basically wave down the beings who eventually turned around and got them. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if she regrets that choice. I'm sure she will. All right, Kelly, let's hear it.
All of a sudden, that euphoria changed to absolute horror.
There you go.
I really, I guess, lost the plot. I really lost control. I was so freaked out, I started screaming, and...
Was this physically uncomfortable to feel that wave coming through you?
It was almost like something was interfering with the way that my mind worked. It was like I couldn't think straight. It was like I was fighting to be able to think properly at all, and all I could feel was this raw emotional terror. It really was like a living nightmare. And
oh goodness!
Then these beings or figures came across the field. They split up, and at the same time as I was yelling out, their eyes appeared to light up a bright red colour. I don't know whether that's infrared or what it was. But of course that totally freaked me out. So the screaming just got worse. They came across the field, split up into 2 groups. Some came towards us, some came towards the second party of people down the road. I felt this blow to my solar plexus, and I landed flat on my back in the grass.
Oh, my. So you got knocked over forcefully by something that didn't touch you that you saw, but it was something that...
It was like, almost like an electric charge of some sort. It wasn't like a thump. It was like I'd received an electric shock straight in the solar plexus.
Like a shock, huh?
Yeah.
Again, this reminds me so much of Travis Walton.
Right. Makes
This
you wonder
was-
if it's not the same crowd.
1993, so this was after Travis Walton.
Was he? What year was he in blanking?
75, I think.
So quite a
Wow.
bit.
Quite
Yeah.
a bit later, but yeah, very similar in terms of like
Yeah.
this pulse energy hitting you and paralyzing you and shooting you backwards. Huh.
Right.
Interesting.
I would love for, is it C. Andrew? Yeah. C. Andrew, I'm curious what you mean when you say the audience reaction was embarrassing. Can you fill us in a little bit more in the chat?
Oh, she was on Oprah. Interesting.
Yeah.
You get an alien abduction and you get an alien abduction. I'm sorry. I had to. But that is sad that it was probably, they were laughing, I would assume, and Oprah might have made light of it. Who knows? I'd have to see the clip. Maybe she wasn't.
Yeah.
But,
I don't know.
yeah. All right. Let's see
All right.
what happens next.
And were you knocked off your feet?
Yeah, literally off my feet and flat on my back on the ground, and it knocked the wind out of me. I couldn't breathe, and I really, really struggled to sit up. I kept thinking I was going to die if I didn't sit up. And when I sat up, I was violently nauseous as well as struggling to get a bit of air into my lungs, and I couldn't see a thing in front of my eyes. And that's how I remained for the little bit that I remember sitting in the grass. I was totally blind. I couldn't remember.
Oh, how terrifying.
Yeah, it was actually. It was very terrifying. I think I really was hysterical, and it's almost a little bit embarrassing to think about how hysterical I was then. But I think it's not until you're put in a situation that's totally out of your control do you.
Absolutely, and you're being assaulted, knocked over, you're losing your vision, and and these red-eyed, terrifying foreign beings are coming towards you. That's very incredible.
Anyway, the last thing I remember was a hand being placed on my shoulder, and I went absolutely ballistic, and the next thing I can remember was being back in the car.
You felt something touching you?
Yeah.
So that was while you were still lying on the ground?
No, I was actually sitting up in the grass with my knees apart. So I was actually in a sitting position. But before I was touched on the shoulder, I heard this male voice say, "Well, someone do something about her." I know it sounds ridiculous.
Do something about
someone
her.
do something about her. Exactly.
And you think it was one of those beings?
Yeah.
That was,
yeah. Well, I couldn't see. I could only hear. I was totally blind.
Was this a voice you heard coming from outside?
Yes, it was an.
I was just going to comment on that. How do you think this interviewer is doing? This seems very legit.
I think she's doing really well. She's taking this very seriously. Body language, facial expression tell us that she's interested, and she's taking it seriously, which is refreshing, even though this is an old interview.
Yeah, 90s. I mean, it was, you'd be hearing the X-Files music behind it.
Exactly.
Yeah, even up until today.
Yeah, no one's snickering.
No, she seems to be genuinely interested. I'm not going to judge if she believes her or not, but at least she's listening.
Respectful.
Yeah. And again, I wish I knew where this interview came from. Guys, if anyone in the chat wants to do some sleuthing while we're watching, try to figure it out. I think I got this clip from Eyes on Cinema, the YouTube channel. They do wonderful work in archiving a ton of old UFO archived footage and news and stuff. But yeah, I'd like to know what this is from, and
yeah, me too.
Give this interviewer a freaking award or something.
I'd also like to talk to that interviewer.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Voice. It wasn't,
And it was clearly in English, obviously.
Yes, but I still have trouble recalling whether there was an accent or anything. I didn't recognise one, so I assumed there wasn't anything out of the ordinary with the voice at all.
Did you hear any sounds coming from your husband, let's say, or the people up the road?
Only in the very beginning when I first got hit, and I sat up and I called out to my husband. I couldn't see that I was blind, and I heard him say, "Let go of me," and And then I heard the same male voice say, "We don't mean you any harm." And my husband saying, "Well, why did you hit Kelly then?" And
so he saw you get knocked off your feet.
Yeah.
And gasped for air probably afterwards.
Yeah. So, not a very good situation. I actually threw up. That's how frightened I was. While I was sitting down, I literally threw up. So.
Oh dear, goodness. And then the last thing you remember is being touched after sitting up, and then you woke up where?
Well, I was back in the car and totally disorientated. And as far as I could remember on that particular night was us driving into this light. And I couldn't remember what had gone out on the field until several weeks later, actually, until we had driven back up there again. But when I got home that night, the first thing was that we had about an hour and a half that we couldn't account for. It just seemed to have gone instantaneously missing from our lives. Secondly, I was marked with an equilateral triangle mark underneath my navel.
How large?
Ooh. Okay.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Wonder if she ever had it scanned.
Right?
What was the name of the one doctor who was sort of making his way through the experiencers, removing the implant?
Roger Lear, I believe.
Maybe that's, yeah, I think that's right. I wonder if she ever got to him.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, Roger Lear. Was it Roger Lear? Yeah, not John Lear, who's the cuckoo crazy guy that's connected to Bob Lazar.
Right.
I know Roger Lear didn't perform the surgery, but I know, speaking of communion, you've got the book with you right now. I've got the poster here. There it is with the bedazzled cover.
And because I'm 500 years old, I also have a first edition.
I love it.
Which, by the way, people, I read every word of in the maybe late 80s, early 90s. I don't remember exactly when that came out, and still didn't associate any of this with my UFO experience as a child.
Wow.
So I guess you're ready when you're ready, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
You're not ready when you're not ready.
Exactly. I remember the first copy I found of Communion, I was like, gosh, 14, and I found it at a church, like, what do you call those? Like, kind of like a big garage sale
like a
sort of
sale,
situation. Yeah. And I saw this book with that cover, and I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
And I had just been kind of getting it. I had my sighting like a year and a half prior, and I could not put the book down. I just, everywhere I went, that book went with me. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, it just still didn't connect for me then. And, but in my defense, I was probably 28 years old. And he released the book Communion as a novel, not as a true, a nonfiction piece.
Yeah.
And only years later did he come out and tell the truth about this being actually his experience. So I just wasn't in the mind frame of it being real when I read it.
Interesting. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, the denial is real for sure.
Yep.
And then, there's one other thing. Oh, did you ever hear the story about Whitley Strieber trying to get an implant removed, and it literally was moving as the surgery? Yeah, the surgeon was trying to get it.
Yes, it was moving. Yes, I know. And then I've also heard him talk about his implant, which he still has, people, and that now he relies on it, but not as often as initially. That he decided it was better to have it and to be in communication than to take it out.
Interesting. I got to get him back on the show. I had him on maybe a couple of years ago at this point, but we talk online all the time. I got to get him back on. I love that guy.
Please do.
Okay, let's get back to Kelly and her triangular marking. This is weird.
Or small would that be?
About 9 or 10 millimeters each way. And
what did that look like? The triangle, did it have a color, texture?
Yeah, it actually looked like a burn, or as if the first few layers of skin had been removed. And I think I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. I noticed it because it was geometric, and I was wondering, I wonder if this had anything to do with what we saw up in the sky. But then I thought, no, I'm being ridiculous, so I left that. But I think the main problem that occurred that night was that I'd started bleeding when I wasn't due, and quite profusely, and that continued for 3.5 weeks till I was hospitalised with an infection in the womb, which the hospital doctors had no explanation for. Now, as it happens, the two ladies in the second party also had gynecological problems, quite severe ones. instantly post-encounter. They were also left with the triangular marks underneath their navels.
Whoa. Okay.
I don't like this part.
So we're getting to the other witnesses. Is that what we're talking about here?
Yes, and they've got the same marks that she has. And I guess what I didn't understand, though, was she saying that there were others that night with her who were expecting and who also had pregnancy problems?
I'm unclear on that.
I am too.
This might be a good time, actually. Let me bring these up because she mentioned there were other cars that were around, and they would not speak to Kelly. These other witnesses, they actually came forward at a different time to researchers who didn't want them talking. Like they wanted to get their stories all differently. And I'm going to show you 3 sketches. These are 2 sketches from 2 women and 1 sketch from Kelly.
Okay.
All right, of what they saw craft-wise.
This is unbelievable. I've never seen any story involving a craft that looks like this.
Yeah.
And look how similar they are. They're obviously not identical. Not everybody can draw exactly what they've seen, but look how similar they are. It's just, wow.
Right. I mean, again, yeah, like you said, artistic ability ranges, perception can be different, but these are unquestionably the same craft, in my opinion.
Exactly.
Really interesting.
Really very interesting.
Not only that, Suzanne, look at these sketches they did of the beings.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, I mean.
Wow.
This happened.
Very similar between themselves, but not the almond wraparound eyes.
Yeah, these big red eyes, like you mentioned, like the Varhenia.
And you know, when you think about the Varhenia being, this is the same shape.
Yeah, very much so. Yep. It's like that. I don't like using the word prototypical, but it kind of is.
Kind of.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I just needed to show you those. I couldn't believe it.
Wild.
Yeah. Okay.
For that bleeding turn out to be?
Well, there was no diagnosis. There's even on the medical records I have, there's still question marks beside everything. You know, they checked out well, first they did pregnancy tests to even test that I'd been pregnant and something had infested, and that was negative. They checked out endometriosis, a whole heap of things. All that they had was that there was a intrauterine infection, and they had really no explanation for why it had actually started.
Goodness. Now, you wrote about all the details of your encounter in this book, Encounter, which we'll be talking about in a few minutes for the audience and showing them some pictures out of it. So this didn't seem to be related to any pregnancy or anything like that. They just have question marks.
Yeah.
For your case.
Yeah. Still on the medical records.
Oh my goodness. And how were they able to? They were obviously able to treat you for this. And what was the treatment?
Yeah. I was placed on a very strong drip of antibiotics for several days in hospital. Then let out, and it seemed to do the trick and heal the problem. But why the problem occurred in the first place is still a mystery, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, I went forward to researchers. This was a bit of a problem. I knew something had gone on here, and I wanted to do something about it. My husband wasn't in agreement with it, but I just couldn't help myself. And I started ringing universities, and finally the Civil Aviation Authority put me onto UFO researchers, and at that time I had no idea that something like a UFO researcher existed, you know. I sort of thought that I'm the only person in the history of mankind that this has happened to.
So this was a subject you had no interest, no familiarity with, and this extraordinary experience happens to you. And that is really what made you seek out assistance from people in the field. So how did that turn? Now, what about your husband, then? Let's backtrack a tiny bit, if you don't mind. Did he have any marks on his body?
No, he's the only one that actually, he and Bill, the male member of the second party, seemed to be the only ones that didn't have marks on their bodies.
So out of the 6 witnesses, there were 3 females or 4 females?
There was 3 females and 3 males. 3 females had marks and 1 male, but the other 2 didn't.
Okay. Does your husband, did he have recollection the next day also, or a few weeks later when you went back to that same place?
My husband, he remembered seeing the craft in the sky, and but whenever I mentioned anything out on the field, he would go absolutely ballistic. He would get really, really angry, and he denied it for a long time until about 2.5 years ago, when he finally came out and said, admitted that, yeah, he remembers what went on out in the field, and he has memories of it too, and he's also seen these things at other stages throughout his lifetime before this, which really surprised me after all these years of him denying it. But you have to understand, he comes from a Muslim background, and everything to him was anything to do with UFOs or this was totally demonic. So his idea was not to touch it, not to think about it, not to do anything with it.
He was trying to deny this whole event occurred.
Yeah,
now,
forget it and it'll go away.
Yeah, which obviously, as you know, doesn't work. Now, what about your background? What is, you said he was a Muslim. What?
I was a strange marriage mix here, but I was a full-on Pentecostal Christian at the time, which probably explains half of my reaction out on the field, because, I thought I'd had a run-in with Satan himself while I was out there, and I think, my hysterics had a lot to do with that.
I think having an upset reaction has a lot to do with everything. I mean, what an incredible amount of traumatic events to happen in a short period of time. So his reaction after was he didn't want to talk about it, and you obviously felt the need to do so. You had had physical problems. Did these physical problems end when you came off the IV, or were there some lingering physical effects that occurred after that?
There were still effects after the encounter. I think for about 9 months I had massive migraine headaches and extreme sensitivity to light and to noise. That seemed to clear up eventually, but there seemed to be immediately post-encounter effects. Whether that's from, I don't know what it's from, whether it's from the frequencies we felt out.
Had you ever had migraines prior to this?
No,
and you were
never.
Getting them how often?
On a daily basis. Some days I couldn't even get out of bed. They were so severe. All I'd want to do was feel like I was going to throw up all day, and I just couldn't lift my head off the pillow.
Goodness. And the doctors said what about these migraines?
Well, not a lot. I was sent for CAT scans, and there didn't seem to be any major problem at all.
Nothing was showing up in the medical tests, and they just
so it was
sent you home.
Yeah, and a few painkillers, and well, what else? It's a bit hard to tell doctors, oh, hold on, I had this UFO encounter, maybe this could be linked to it. It just, you just don't do things like that.
Right. Okay, so now you had started to lead us into the talk about contacting researchers in Australia?
Yes, in Australia. Phenomena Research Australia was the people that I eventually got in contact with. And I'm very thankful that I did, because they have now gone ahead and done what is considered to be probably the most thorough scientific investigation ever done on a UFO case in Australia.
And who was was it an organization or one individual?
No, it was an organisation, but it was headed by John Akeu. Although it ended up expanding beyond that. The Monash University of Melbourne got very deeply involved in the on-field data collection and analysis as well. So
now this is very remarkable. Now we in this country, when there's a UFO case or a close encounter, the universities don't jump on board, and people don't start usually jumping on board to do good quality research. But you had a reaction like that over there. You're very fortunate.
Yeah, I was very, very lucky. And
now were UFO phenomena, was that commonly talked about, or
no, actually,
in Australia?
It's definitely been research going on for many, many years. There's been a lot more cases than will ever be brought out in public, but it wasn't an issue that was dealt with in public at the time.
So your case really was pivotal in bringing...
Oh, it opened the media up in Australia incredibly. It was... but the research itself, I just want to go back to that for a moment.
Absolutely.
The on-field ground traces and data took 18 months of investigation. There was no expense spared. There was aerial surveys, infrared photography from the air. The magnetic readings taken were taken by a portable magnetometer, $250,000 worth of equipment, and only one of two in Australia. So they basically went all the way, and I've seen photographs of several acres of the field cordoned off into 1 metre blocks with pegs and ribbon, and samples were taken from every single block. Several times actually, and sent to two separate individual analysts. But the ground traces included a triangular mark out on the field that was first thought to be burns, but ended up being the chemical pyrene, which is a carcinogenic cancer-causing agent. But it does come naturally in small quantities in areas such as coal loads, but geologically it shouldn't have been in this particular position, and certainly not in a triangular formation.
How large was the triangle formation?
Wow. Okay. So trace radiation or whatever weird cancerous like chemicals or whatever in the ground there.
Yeah.
Carcinogenic, she said.
Not to
Oh
mention
yeah.
backing up a minute and official testing, right? Official sampling.
With like the most sophisticated tech they had at the time. Like you don't make this up and then allow people to go do these types of elaborate tests. Like
Precisely.
the jig is up at that point, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah. And we do have to thank Bill Chalker, the UFO researcher. He was a prime investigator on this case, and I value and trust his opinion more than anyone when it comes to Australian cases. And he stands by this case till today.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is fascinating.
It is. And now we're hearing about the triangles again.
Right.
Crazy. All right.
Triangle was only, it was an equilateral triangle again, but the marks were only 20 feet apart. However, there was another very large magnetic anomaly in the shape of a semicircle. And actually, if I show you the picture of the craft we all drew, this is the original craft that I actually...
Here, tell you what, let's hold it up for the camera and we'll let them do a close-up. Okay, we're going to use this camera, correct? Which one are we using here? All right, this camera's going to do a close-up in a moment. And there we go. All right, now I'm going to point to the one that we're talking about first. Now this one right here is the, I want to make sure there's no glare on it. This is the drawing that Kelly, you did. How long after the event?
I love the news anchor's nails. I'm just going to say it.
I'm going to have to watch more closely.
The close encounter, did you do this drawing?
Within about 4 or 5 weeks.
4 to 5 weeks,
yes.
Okay. Were you asked to do so?
Yes, I was. When I first contacted the researchers, they asked that I submit anything that I could remember, including drawings and written documentation of everything that I remembered. The second...
And the reason you didn't do this sooner is because you were having that medical problem for the first 3.5 weeks, certainly.
The reason is that I hadn't gone forward to researchers, you know. I mean, that took a bit of courage, and it also took a bit of research to even find out where to go to.
Yes.
But the second group came forward 6 weeks after I did, with the same story and drew the same thing, yet they weren't aware that I'd already been to the researchers, and they weren't told about that either until approximately 9 months after the investigation had started, after the encounter. So
how did these people know to come forward? Was there some publicity involved?
No, none whatsoever.
They on their own, just like you felt and
no.
you could see.
No. What happened was that there was an advertisement put by the researchers in a local paper, because I'd insisted that there was a second group of people behind me. But the advertisement was very carefully worded, and it was basically to do if anyone had any unusual activity in this particular suburb. And what they did get was a whole spate of UFO sighting reports. And then they got this one phone call of these people saying, look, I don't know if you're going to believe this, but we had this really unusual experience. And then they mentioned the name of the road, and I mean, those sort of things weren't in.
So it wasn't just actually the people on the ground. There were a lot of people that had seen an aerial sighting of this as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if it's the same object, but...
was it the same date and the same general...
Well, I don't know. I haven't got... That's the researchers' information. I just I was just told that they got so many calls for aerial sightings.
Right, and they didn't say UFO sighting or anything, and yet they got a whole series of calls about this. Very compelling.
So basically they were kept unaware of our presence that night, and the sketches they drew were without ever seeing mine or having any clue of what I'd drawn. The same as the beings on the field, they drew very similar sketches to me.
Very similar, absolutely.
I'm do that.
And what we'd seen wasn't the usual little grey that most people may have seen in the media. These were 6 to 7 foot tall and black.
Let's take a look at the drawings that the same witnesses, the same 2 women who drew the craft and yourself. So we'll do a close-up of this, and again I'll point to I'll point to the first one. This is the one right here that Kelly drew. And, oops, crooked, sorry about that. And the ones on the other page are by the other 2 witnesses who also did the same drawing, did the similar drawings of the craft, completely separate. Did these 2 women talk with each other before they did their drawings? Were they friends?
They were friends in the same car. Yeah.
Okay.
Now the unusual thing is we all did the same thing. All we drew were the face and eyes, no nose, no mouth, no anything else. And
did they feel that the eyes were red as well?
They don't remember the eyes lighting up red, simply because when they were on the side of the field, when they first crossed the road, they saw the craft, they saw the beings, they heard a humming noise, and that was it. They were unconscious. So they didn't even see the beings come across the field and split up. They did see them there. So our stories slightly differ, but they simply because we had different experiences at the same place, but they did take researchers back to the same place. And
so you might have been the only unfortunate one that got knocked off her feet.
Yeah, I might have been the only unfortunate one that managed to stay conscious for a little while longer. It would have been better off if I hadn't.
Yeah, truly difficult.
She's handling that with such not humor. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Levity, maybe? I don't know.
Levity.
Grace? Yeah.
I think I love that sort of backwards admission just then. I'd have been better off if I had not. And I think many experiencers feel that way.
Yeah. I can't really recall one experiencer I've ever spoken to who said,
So glad that happened, right?
Yeah. Even if it was a positive experience, it's still paradigm
still
shifting.
Trauma.
And it's trauma. Exactly.
And especially if it's probably one level of trauma for people who are not soaked in the subject versus the trauma that we would feel being able to at least intellectually put things in their place for an event like that. But I agree with Kevin Bushman. Imagine how many people that have experienced this but didn't get to tell anybody.
Oh, so true.
Yeah.
So
Talk
true.
about trauma.
Yeah. We had one of our Patreon subscribers reach out to us this past week about a slew of UFO sightings that have happened to them. And it's the first time they've ever shared them.
Talked about it.
Yeah. I obviously am not going to divulge that.
Right.
But I want to thank them, from the bottom of my heart, for having the courage to at least tell us, you and I.
Yes,
so we're going to work with them right now on if they want this to go any further, if they want it out to the public, or if they just want to keep it between the three of us. But that's important. I always go back to the first interview I ever conducted with a UFO witness. I was 13 years old, 1996.
Yes.
And this guy was in his 80s at that point. And I talked to him for 3.5 hours on the phone.
Wow.
And, he told me about this Foo Fighter sighting he had over the Pacific during Vietnam. And he died a month later.
Aw, but he got it off his chest before then.
Yeah. His son reached out to me and was like, thank you. And
wow.
I mean, at 13, I didn't understand the weight of that yet. But as time went on, it really hit me wow, I was the first and last person he told this to, and he probably just wanted to get it out there to somebody. And
exactly.
it meant the absolute world to me. And I wake up every day thinking about that, honestly.
And I think that's a great thing to do, because I do think it's subtle but powerful just to be a place and a forum where people can talk without ridicule.
Yep.
And be heard without ridicule. And so I'm hoping this person who reached out last night will move forward with a recording. This person did a great job outlining succinctly what happened. And so hopefully we'll hear back that he or she's willing to do a recording for us for witness accounts.
Yep. And we're on your schedule if you're watching this or listening, and this is on your terms. But thank you for even reaching out. And the reason I bring that up is because, how many of these people have never come forward?
That's right.
Thank God these other experiencers during this event can corroborate Kelly's story and have such similar stories to tell in a way. But
right.
Yeah.
It took me almost 45 years to tell mine. So this so resonates with me that people hold these stories, because it is not always well received. I was very fortunate that my family responded very positively and non-judgmentally. And, there may be some of them who don't think it really happened, but they held it to themselves if that's what they were thinking, and engaged in appropriate question asking. And but not everybody gets that.
Yeah.
Well, not everybody gets that.
It's enough that they supported you. I think that's amazing. We're going to hear that running theme tonight when it comes, Kelly mentioned her husband supports her. We're going to hear from another alien abductee, a woman named Grace Akeu, after this, whose husband supported her. That's important. It really is. Whether they believe you or not, at
Right.
least they're there. Like I'll bring in. I swear we'll get back to the interview, but there's a woman named Claudette in my book who I traveled to Arizona to meet with her and her husband about her alien abduction experiences as a child, and it was the first time she'd ever shared it outside of with her husband. And I remember sitting at a diner with her, and her husband was sitting next to her, and she got so emotional. She was crying, barely getting through the story. And all I remember is seeing her clenching her husband's hand and the
Wow.
indents she left on his skin. And he was just consoling her and like being there for her. I never asked him, do you believe this happened to her or not? And at that point, with unconditional love like that, it didn't matter.
Yeah, leave it
didn't
alone.
matter.
Right.
Leave it
Just
alone.
leave it where it is. Leave it where you
If
Yep.
getting this out to this random dude in the UFO world, if that's gonna bring some closure to her, awesome. And I've been friends with her and her husband ever since, and I check in and shout out to Claudette. I love you. I hope you and your husband are doing well. And yeah, this stuff's important. Like maybe it's cool and fun to talk about alien abductions and all that, but at the end of the day, this is a person who experienced something that clearly
It is.
affected
And
her.
the experiencers must process it, and they can process it well with good support, or they can process it in silence and stuff it. And, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's get back to it.
Okay.
Cult one. Goodness. All right, so let's keep
My
talking
goodness,
about
that's our
doing the
go-to.
investigation with this researcher. Did you find this helpful to find out that the other witnesses had seen a similar thing when you did?
Yeah. Well, it's sort of, by that stage, I was really starting to think, God, I must be going crazy.
Absolutely.
This must be some form of psychosis or something like that, but because it just couldn't be real. And I think that was the greatest effect on my whole life, actually, is that all through my life I've been taught that strange things like this, they don't exist. And I believed in science and academia, and all of a sudden, here I was faced with this reality that something did exist. And I'd been told that this just didn't exist, so I'd never contemplated it. And I started realising, hey, these guys don't know what they're talking about. There's just opinions, because they didn't really know. And I think that's where your whole concept of logic and reality gets shaken to the very foundations.
That's called ontological shock.
With myself, it was almost like I had to go right back and start to question everything I'd ever been taught in my life. And ask myself, is this truth or not? And I have to find the answer for myself.
Oh, what a difficult search. Very difficult. I bet that's been quite a difficult struggle to, especially since the general public, although, like I said, you're fortunate that the media and the people you turn to for help were at least willing to assist you rather than giving you very negative feedback and just ignoring you and leaving you alone to deal with it without information.
Well, I think the Australian media actually took to this so well simply because for the first time they had something physical to look at. They had ground traces to look at. They had marks on people's bodies. Glenda from the second car and David from the third car had amazing ligature marks around their ankles,
which implied what?
Well, Glenda says that she recalls being strapped down to a table, a relapse, I guess, of consciousness, and she said she was in a room and she was strapped down to a table. Don't ask me, but the ligature marks seemed to say something, that she was strapped down to something, or something tight was around her leg.
How many people had ligature marks on their leg?
Just two, her and the lone male in the car behind her.
Now, he came forward to speak with the researchers and share his experiences, but he has never wanted to come public.
Yeah, he actually didn't come we didn't even find out anything about him until 1996, 3 years down the track. Apparently, very early on in the piece, they'd gone to other researchers to tell their story, and no one had been interested, and it hadn't been linked up, so no one knew that he had anything to do with this, and they'd got a little bit disillusioned and decided that maybe they'd better just keep it to themselves. And it wasn't until they saw a story in a magazine, an article that I'd done, that I thought, hold on a second, this sounds exactly like what well, what he went through. This was his wife encouraging him that he's got to do something about it, of course.
Yes, just as traumatic for the spouse as the person.
Yeah, and he was also left with the same marks on his body that the two women in the second car had, which was a series of 3 dots on the inside thigh.
How large might these dots be? Like a puncture dot, or a brute, like the end of a pencil eraser on the end?
Yeah, about the size of the end of a pencil eraser. 3 red spots in a row.
That never faded in color. Is there any tenderness on these spots, for instance?
Not that I didn't have them. So not that I'm aware of. I'm just aware of the markings. I've been given photographs of the marks. But
now, do you still have your triangle?
Nah, it went about 5 months afterwards.
5 months.
Yeah. Actually, at first it was red, and I thought, oh, this could be a burn. Then it healed to be the outline of a scar, a triangular scar, which suggested more that it might have been a cut or the layers of skin removed rather than actually a burn. I didn't realise, of course, how important that was until January the following year, when the researchers said, well, hey, you're not alone in this because the other 2 had it as well. And that was a real relief. Yeah, so. Now,
have you since, met with the other witnesses and become friends, perhaps, or shared experiences?
No, I didn't understand that at first. All I thought, we've been through this, and no one else in the world has experienced this. It's like, well, I really needed them because I wasn't having the support from my husband at all that I needed. In fact, he was angry at the whole thing because he just wanted me not to tell anybody and let's go on living the way we were living. And
I stand corrected. Her husband did not support her. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, ontological
maybe it didn't
shock,
stay that way.
Yeah. Ontological shock comes in many formats for different people.
Yeah. I mean, he witnessed a lot of this too,
Right.
but the denial, I would assume.
You can just stuff it, right? You just stuff it down and don't let it be real.
Yeah.
Not healthy, but it can be done.
Sounds like every man ever born on this planet. So, yeah.
Meanwhile, the women are right. Talk about it. Go do something. Yeah, this cannot stay this way.
Internalize it and let it explode.
The genetic.
male
Let's
psyche.
wait for that. That's always fun.
How we doing? We're about a little more than halfway. How's everyone doing in the chat?
I think you're doing great. This is a thoughtful conversation going on in the chat today.
It is.
What we hoped it would be, right?
Sean said her husband was Muslim, so he might have had something to do with it too. Yeah, the whole demonic thing, as she mentioned earlier, which is interesting because it had red eyes, and the Varhinia alien did too, and they thought it was a Diablo as well. So
yes, and I was messaging you that the Varhinia incident also had bacterial infection involved. So something is going on between, it took the life of one of the paramedics or the ambulance drivers at the scene. Or the transport guy. I don't know if he was ambulance or not, but it's amazing.
I think it was military police.
I think it was too, or police. I can't remember exactly, but so lots of similarities between Varhinia and her incident.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going.
Okay.
And yet, don't even talk about it with him.
Yeah. But they. At first, they weren't even told about us until July 1994, so I had to wait all of that time.
Almost a year later.
About 9 months after they came forward, they were told about our presence that night. They hadn't seen us ahead of them, even though I'd seen them behind us. And they did go public. They did a lecture at a university and 2 radio shows that I know of, but I only learned of those in retrospect, or I would have been there. And they decided that they weren't going to do it anymore. That Bill was terrified of, his position as a bank manager if anyone found out. And it was the girls who'd actually been speaking. And so they all just decided that it just wasn't worth all the trouble of going public. And they decided that they were going to leave it behind and really didn't want to deal with it anymore. There was actually a lot more to it. There was a big court case that went on over revealing their personal information in public and a lot of other things.
Who was it that?
With the researchers and the second party. So there was a lot more complications that went on than meets the eye. But
now, writing this book, Encounter, which you wrote in 1996?
Well, actually I didn't. It was published in 96, but all of this really comes from the journals that I was encouraged to keep by the researchers. It was like, write everything down, you know, and maybe one day it can be used as reference material or something. And it was a form of, I guess, a form of therapy too. But more than that, I've gone back through my old journals, and sometimes I'm amazed at how much you forget over the years. And it's like, oh God, I forgot all about that. You know, it might be a little incident or you know, a little insight, and it was really good to write it down. But the book basically came from that, and from an interview that was done on tape.
And what compelled you to write this book? Was it something that felt therapeutically valuable? Did you want to share it with a larger audience?
Not at first. That's why it took me quite a number of years to do anything with it. I didn't really want to share it with a lot of people. It was even telling my best friends was a bit of a problem, but the support that I got from them really encouraged me a lot. But it was actually researchers and other experiences. I got to meet quite a number of, you know, actually now it's in the thousands of other experiences now across the globe. But by then I'd met several people, and everyone kept saying to me, listen, you've got the ability to actually get out there and do something. You've got physical evidence. You've got 3 parties of witnesses, and we've been in our situations alone. We haven't got what you've got to get out there and tell people, hey, there's something going on. And basically, I think I got pushed into a little guilt trip there. You're
not doing your part for society.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. Yeah, hey, you've got a job to do, girl. And eventually I got around to doing it, and I was quite surprised at you know, the big publisher like HarperCollins snapped it up. And
what kind of reaction did you get to your book?
Oh, very good, actually. Media went crazy on it in Australia, and actually that's where a lot of media attention turned to UFOs from there on in. And actually a little bit before my book. But I think I was one of the first, well, probably the first experiencer to go so full on in the Australian media, and I was on current affairs programs and in academic journals and so on. And you know, it's not an easy thing. I mean, I'm not an unintelligent woman, so it's you know, I know it looks crazy, but someone doesn't get up there and make a fool of themselves and invent an absolutely stupid story like that when they know how ridiculous it sounds. So the purpose behind it, you know, you know it's going to look stupid, you know it's going to probably ruin your reputation or whatever, but when you've got a truth to get out there, it's really important. And I just thank God that a lot of people actually did listen, which is...
I love that. This bolsters this story for me so much. She's like, I'm not an idiot. I know the backlash that will come from concocting a story like this.
Right.
And so that makes me believe something happened for sure.
I think so too.
Yeah. And she's willing to take that risk because she has a truth to tell. So many experiencers have a truth to tell. Whether that's the truth, we won't know because we were not there. But there are witnesses to this. It's crazy.
There are, and apparently some science that was done.
Right.
I wonder where that is.
Good point. Good point. Yeah. Where maybe it's in her book. I got to get this book. I never even thought about it. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. What's it called? Encounters. I've got it actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a slide for it.
There you go.
There it is. What does that say? I got to read the top. You've seen it in the X-Files. Now read the
they did an
real
X-Files
thing.
episode on it.
Womp
And you're the
womp.
X-Files expert. Have you seen that one? Do you remember it, or is it too many?
I don't know.
of them to-
I think there's more talking in general. Like you've seen the abductions on the X-Files. I think. I'm trying to think if there was a reference to this story in the X, because this happened in '93. This was the year the X-Files came out. So it's very possible that Chris Carter could have read this book, and the first episode of the X-Files is about alien abductions going through different friends and stuff in like Oregon or something like that. So
right.
Who knows? Who knows?
But I hope it's still out there.
Encounter. I'm sure you could find it on eBay or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get back to the
the
old interview.
Yeah.
You're very fortunate. It didn't ruin your reputation. And you live in it did ruin
my marriage.
Ruin your marriage. I don't want to use the marriage word, but okay, that's unfortunately what happened. But you live in a small town now,
yes,
so in
I
Australia. Do. And how do your fellow townspeople feel about your experience, or is there any, fall
feedback from it. Yeah. Well, actually, my next door neighbour is a pastor of a church, and within weeks of me moving in, he was on my doorstep saying, I heard you wrote a book. And he said, oh, the boys have been talking about it. So, but I tend to stick to myself a lot. I'm a very private person, so I really don't know what people say and think.
Well, nobody's coming
No
up
one
and
will do
saying
it purposely to me. Actually, the only person having any problem with it at the moment is my oldest. She's about to turn 13, and she's going through that stage where everything about her mum's embarrassing, and this just makes it worse.
Oh, dear.
Once upon a time, she used to be really proud of this, not anymore.
Yes, well, that's
just that age.
Yes, it's being a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
So now you have 3 children, correct?
Yes, I do.
And how do the others, has there been any experiences that you know of that your children have had? Or have you had, and well, let's start with your children, and then...
well, I certainly hope not.
So none that you know of, that your children have not had any encounters or visitations?
No.
Do you feel you've had any visitations or encounters since that August 93 event?
Yes, I had, for 5 months after the encounter, I had what I term as night visitations. I had woke up on 4 occasions to see one of these tall, dark beings standing right beside my bed. Whether it was a sleep phenomena or something, I don't know, but it certainly seemed real when I woke up. And, well, enough to scare the living daylights out of me, so that, it's only been 2.5 years since I've been able to sleep without the light on again. So, when you've been that scared as an adult that you've got to sleep with the light on in your room, it's, to me, it was very, very real.
Now, the being that you saw in the follow-up visitations, night visitations, did they appear, as best as you could tell, to be the same being?
There's only one.
Okay. Did it appear to be the same as the 7 beings? How many did you see out in the field that night?
7 or 8.
7 or 8. Did it appear to be the same?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I was pretty sure it was one of the same.
So, other than the sort of teardrop-shaped head with the red eyes that appeared to glow, is that an appropriate way to describe it? What about the rest of the features?
Okay. Well,
I'm sure.
Beside my bed, it seemed to be wearing a cloak.
Huh. Like a cape?
Yeah.
Down to the ground? Or?
Yeah, and a hood on it. And
Okay, I'm sorry. I have to stop it right here. I was mentioning my friend Claudette, who had the experiences as a child. Cloaked being, teardrop head, big deep eyes, same exact description. That's weird.
Maybe
What
we can
synchronicity?
to her later, and she might enjoy watching a similar story.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, that's so terrifying. Ooh, that gave me chills.
Yeah.
Okay.
But don't you
Cloaked
love it
beings.
when an experiencer curbs an interviewer like she just did? The
Yeah.
interviewer says something, so you saw these beings in subsequent nights. She says, no, one.
One.
You-
Yeah.
And those are marks of honesty and integrity. That
Right.
matter.
It's an impulsive response rather than like thinking about it. I love
Right.
that. Yeah.
Me too.
Again, everything comes off genuine to me
Does
with
it?
this. Yeah. It feels like local news or cable access. Jay Allen says, yeah, this feels like a cable access show, but I love this because you can really spread out and have a conversation rather than a 2-minute soundbite.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Right.
It's great. I'm so happy we're watching this. All right, let's get back to it.
Okay.
it's really actually quite strange because Glinda from the second party, I only found out probably 2 years down the track. I was given more of her diagrams, and where she says she came back into consciousness and she was strapped down to a table, the being that she woke up and saw was also wearing a cloak. So there's a sort of a little coincidence there.
Yeah.
But out on the field, I really can't tell you about their bodies, because when you see this huge mass of glowing red eyes coming straight at you, you're not looking at anything else but the eyes, I mean, you're not worried about the colour or anything, a polish just doesn't enter your mind.
Would it appear like when cats' eyes, the light hits them just right at night?
No.
Was it that kind of a red eye?
It was like
Like a
it was
stoplight
like
on
it was
the
like
street.
it was like a red hot glow on a stove. That sort of glow.
Very interesting. Wow. I would be terrified. Who wouldn't be terrified seeing something like that? And I can't even imagine waking up and standing on the side of my bed as some red-eyed creature with a cloak on. That's dear goodness
That
gracious.
first time it happened, there was no way
My
I was going back to
goodness.
sleep that night. I was sort of
I'm surprised you ever went back to sleep, Kelly. To be honest with you.
well, at least it only lasted for 5 months. There's a lot of people that I speak to.
How often did it happen during that 5-month period?
4 times.
4 times during 5 months. And what happened during those night visitations?
Okay, well, the first time I could feel this. I was asleep, and I had a very vivid dream where I could feel this presence in my dream, and something said to me not to be frightened of what was about to happen. And I felt this suction on my chest, and almost like my chest had turned into an elastic band, and something was sucking something out of me. And then I got a bit panicked, and it eased back into me a little bit. And then it started again, but really, really strong, and that's what woke me up. Like energy or something was being drawn out of me, but it really made my chest feel like it was an elastic band. And when I woke up, that's when I saw this thing standing this far away from me on the side of the bed. Yet here's the difference. In my dream, when I was asleep, I couldn't see anything. It was just a presence. Only ever in all of these dreams, when I woke up, did I see something. In the dreams, there was never anything to see. It was just an awareness of a very strong presence of something. And what I did notice is the same absolute horror energy that I had out on the field was the same thing I felt when this thing showed up.
Oh dear. And what happened next when you had that feeling of horror? How long did this last? Did anything happen, like any physical marks the next day, any communication, anything missing kind that you knew of?
No, it just seemed to just stand there and look at me, and then it was gone. But I just got the impression that I might have won this time, but there'll be other days. That's the whole impression. It's almost like it was there long enough for me to realise that, hey, this is real, and then it wasn't. And it wasn't a good year, I think, after that. And that wasn't all that happened. I tend to forget a lot of things, but we had some very strange electrical phenomena going on around the house.
Interesting.
We had major appliances blowing, light bulbs going all of the time.
What do you mean? What do you mean, blowing up or turning on and off by themselves?
We had the TV turning on and off by itself. My husband's car would turn over in the driveway, like it was like the sound of a car that's been flooded, with a kill switch on and the door's locked, and he'd run down to try and find. Yeah, he'd run down to try and find the thief, and the car's still locked in the kill.
Okay, poltergeist activity.
Yep.
That's what I'm gathering.
That's what I'm gathering too. And in my experience as a child, first I had my UFO experience, but that was almost immediately followed by the beginning of poltergeist activity. So somehow this stuff is connected. I don't get it.
Yeah. Patty Donahue, another woman in my book, back in the mid-2000s in Michigan, she had a black triangle sighting over her home. Her younger daughter saw it with her. But then after this sighting, they started having a ton of weird stuff happen in the house. Shadow figures, electrical appliances going on, going off, car won't start, blah, blah, blah. It got so bad, Suzanne, that they called the electric company to come and fix the electricity because they thought maybe it can be helped. And as the electrical guy is trying to fix something at the house, a massive UFO comes over the house and the electrical guy sees it.
Oh my
And
gosh.
he gets off his ladder. He says, I'm sending someone else. Bye.
Bye. This is not for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know how it's related. I had finally found an elder gentleman who was a lawyer, who is a lawyer, who had a very similar experience as mine and in similar years, but he was older than I was. And then he too had experienced immediately the beginning of the poltergeist stuff. And unfortunately, he has gotten really ill. And so I was hoping to have a more substantive conversation with him, because to me, this is an area that we don't study very often. Like, what is going on and what are the correlations between the people who experience this particular aspect post UFO encounter? I'd love to know more.
Me too. Absolutely. Hitchhiker effect, someone said.
Yeah,
Could
definitely
be something like that. Yeah.
And sometimes it's not so hitchhikery. I had a vase full on thrown across the room at me when my mother and sister watched it happen.
Ooh.
So it can be quite tangible. It doesn't have to necessarily be, something went bump in the night. No, things are physically moving where others can see. So I just think, I wish that we had a way to sort of gather some of that information and data.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they have at Skinwalker Ranch, maybe a little bit.
I think so too.
But Yeah, that is a good point. Like the aftermath of a
Right,
abduction. Like, let's go to the home. Let's monitor the home for like a
right,
couple months. Something that
exactly.
the experiencer is gives consent to. We're gonna follow you every second of every day for the next 2 months and see what data we can
What
gather.
happens? Yeah,
Yeah.
put the the reading devices in the rooms and the wires, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Something
Mm-hmm.
is definitely connected between the incident and the poltergeist activity.
I believe so. I've seen it too many times.
Yeah.
In experiencers. I haven't
Sure.
personally seen it, but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see where this is heading.
Switch is still on.
Oh my gosh, and no key in the ignition and the car is going.
Yeah. And so this is to me, and I was getting electric shocks from things that shouldn't conduct electricity, like rocks and soil and wood and things out in the garden. I kept getting these shocks all the time, and I really think that, especially with the car, that somehow whatever we were in contact with out in the field had some sort of electrical charge or something that had started to, well, not only affect our bodies, but mechanical things like the car as well. So it was quite an unusual time.
Wow, how long did those strange...
that stuff went on for about 9 or 10 months.
So you were having migraines for about 9 months?
Yeah.
You were having strange electrical effects. And then they dissipated, stopped abruptly?
Yeah, it just seemed to disappear. It just seemed to stop.
And so the night visitation stopped after that 9 months as well?
No, they were only the first 5 months.
First 5 months. So after 9 months after, as far as you know, you have had no experiences?
Well, not anything like that, no.
That type of an experience. Yeah. Now, have you had any experiences at all prior to August 93 on the road?
Well, there's only one experience that now makes sense, and it didn't then. In 1991, I was living in a Melbourne suburb, Laylaw, and I was very, very pregnant with my third child.
9 months pregnant, right?
Yeah,
very pregnant.
And
minutes away from due date.
I woke up in the morning lying spread eagled on my huge stomach, balancing on the bed with my arms and legs sort of off the bed, with my son kicking me, and my waters had actually broken. And it was really hard actually to get up off the bed, and I don't even know how I got in that position, but I got up and I started to walk towards the door, and I noticed my nightie was on inside out. And then I thought, when did I, it's a bit stupid putting that on backwards. And I asked myself, when did I put it on? And I could not remember going to bed. The last thing I remember was sitting out in the lounge room. And it's the first time in my life where I hadn't remembered doing something. And I sort of, ticked over in my mind. And because I was going into labour at that very time, sort of the concern about it lasted till about as far as I got to the bedroom door, and that was it. The other things sort of took precedence over it. But I also came up with these marks on the side of my legs, which were like deep grooves and that were dark purple, and they all seemed to come up around the same time. And it's only now, after I've learnt a lot about UFO experiences and everything, that they're the classical scoop marks that a lot of UFO experiences actually have. And if you actually feel them, you can feel what feels like a hole going down through the muscle tissue, right down like a punch biopsy.
So you still have that mark on your ankle?
No, on both of my calves.
Both of your calves?
Yeah. So that does look like something else strange happened there, but
yes. Now, was the birth healthy, normal? Everything went fine when you went to a hospital?
Yeah, well, I had to be induced. The birth was fine.
And your son is how old now? This is your youngest?
Yeah, he's 8.
And look at that big smile.
He's a cutie.
He's a cutie. Oh, yeah. Wonderful. So he's 8 years old now. And is there anything unique about him that you've noticed that perhaps you think is
well, he's Mommy's little angel.
Unlike the 13-year-old. No,
yeah, exactly.
He used to be Mommy's little angel. And will be again soon. Yeah, so there's nothing in particular about his health or his thinking, philosophy, mental capacity?
Well, he's a very, very compassionate child, but whether that's got to do with the way that, different children are raised, you learn by your mistakes, I guess. But
otherwise,
otherwise
he's a regular, everyday, wonderful kid. Huh?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. I mean, in looking back, that's very nice that everything went smoothly.
It's like the news anchor is expecting her to be like, Yeah, my son shoots laser beams out of his eyes, and he levitates, and he can read my mind.
He's red-eyed and he's 7 feet tall, and we can't figure out where he got
Yeah, right, right. I mean, we could joke about this now, but I'm sure that was a
I'm
valid
sure,
concern. She had pregnancy issues, like, when
clearly.
this event happened, and, like, she mentioned all those health issues earlier, and who knows what these beings were doing to her and
That's
these
right.
other women too. So, yeah, it's a good question. It
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 is.
is a good question. Yeah,
Yeah, agreed.
yeah. Alright, we're almost done.
Okay.
Well, so this is an absolutely extraordinary case. I mean, the amount of evidence you
Yeah.
have between the landing marks and all the things that happened to the soil. I know that I have a little list here, if you don't mind, just to summarize things for people.
That's fine.
The evidence that you have. Let me get the soil effects here. There's 6 soil effects that I got now. What I'm reading off of now, just so people know, is off of an article that you wrote that is on the internet through the, let me just double check, MUFON LA website, because you were just down there doing a presentation for them as well, along with a lot of other places. Kentucky, Canada, Northern and Southern California. And the 6 soil effects. Now, you had mentioned that there was it tannic acid? Is that the
Tannic acid is probably the strange one because it was it should have been dissolved with all the rain. It was actually coated in an unidentifiable waxy substance, which seems to be a residue left from...
Yeah, what's the waxy substance? That's incredible. Is it plant material or wax? I mean,
It was...
what a
Well, they
strange...
couldn't really identify it, except that it was... it was waxy. As I said, it seemed to be a residue left, and it was only in this crescent-shaped magnetic anomaly. In fact, all of the soil changes and changes in the chemistry were confined to that crescent-shaped magnetic anomaly and the ground within that.
So out of the entire large area that they tested, most of the...
everything was inside of that, yeah.
Now, how was the foliage of the area?
Oh, that's very interesting, actually. All of the foliage in the crescent area, including blades of grass, leaves, everything, was covered in what looked like little holes everywhere. It's like a constant abrasion through everything. And this little hole effect seems to go further because it was actually in the soil as well. The soil seemed to be filled with little air holes, as if water had been drained from it very, very rapidly, like some kind of...
rapid dehydration.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a little bit similar to what happens in some crop circles. That's very interesting. They've had that happening, the hardening of the soil, the rapid...
compacting, exactly.
Yeah.
This news anchor is like an expert on crop circles. What is happening?
I don't know. She's clearly informed on her topic, and I'd love to know more about her too.
It seems someone even said in the chat that maybe she covers these topics often.
That's how it feels to me. I think that Gail, and it does feel that way. She is, first of all, she's not overly reactive to what she's told. Her questions are right on point. So I think that's the deal.
Exceptional, for sure. Yeah. Crazy about the foliage. Again, it brings me back to Travis Walton and the trees during his event. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right.
So the compacting from the pressure, the minute air holes. Also, there was a great deal of sulfur present in that crescent.
Someone mentioned that in the chat.
Actually, in the semicircle. Sort of
sulfur.
But after my experience, all I could think of was a fire and brimstone. The sulfur comes in really well there, doesn't it?
That's where that original association came from. Yeah, that's very possible. Very interesting. Now, the and the other cross-reference that we have between you and the other 2 carloads of witnesses, a total of 6 people from 3 different vantage points. Well, the 6 of you were along the road. What you all share together is, as we saw earlier in the show, the drawings of the crafts that were all drawn separately, yet clearly, you all saw the same thing, the drawings of the beings. You and some of the other women had similar medical problems after. Did any of them experience the migraines like you did, or any unusual electrical effects around their homes?
I am not sure of the... Actually, you're now asking me questions that I should have been asking myself. Thank you. Now I know what to ask for.
Call that research.
I have been, I am aware that they've had some kind of visitations afterwards.
Oh, they did?
Too. Yeah, the ladies did. As for electrical phenomena, I don't know. Bill did seem to have, that was the male from the second party, did seem to have one unusual factor with his experience is that directly afterwards he started losing quite large clumps of hair from out the back of his head, and within a very short amount of time he developed quite a large bald spot. So there seems to, I don't know whether it's effects of radiation or what it was, but...
Now, did you have any reaction as if you were exposed to radiation or anything like that?
Well, this is what makes me keep thinking back to the Layla, the incident that might have occurred 2 years before, was that I got very, very ill after that, and I started losing hair by the handful.
This was right after the birth of your son, after the event where you woke up?
And I actually had to...
oh, dear.
I actually had to be rushed to hospital with what was supposed to be appendicitis, and they did an emergency operation on me at 1 o'clock in the morning. But first they did a blood test, and one of the signs of appendicitis is that your white cell count goes sky high.
Right.
And yet when they got inside, all they could find was some sort of inflammation, and there wasn't anything wrong with the appendix, just the whole inside of me had become inflamed. And what I find is unusual is that radiation has the same effect, that it sends the white cell count soaring, and sort of all happened around the same period, and it really makes me think that
that you might have had some radiation exposure on the event that occurred before the August '93 event that you talk about in this book. Now, your book Encounter is not available at the moment. You have sold out of all your copies, and people are going to just have to wait while you find another publisher in the hopes of making it available, or if they're very lucky, they'll find it in a used bookstore, but it's not available at the moment.
It hasn't been published in the United States yet.
Now, if people do want to, if people want to reach you, however, are you open to hearing from some of our viewers here at the UFO Connection? How would people get in touch with you, Kelly?
Usually by email.
Okay. Would you be willing to say your email address?
That's fine. It's all lowercase, expo, E-X-P-O, at i-o.net.au.
I'm totally gonna just send an email to that tonight. I doubt. Oh, you're on mute.
Copy me on it. Yeah.
I will. I'll CC you for sure. See if it's still. Well, that's the thing. Like, she kind of fell off the face of the planet. As far as I know, she hasn't been, very vocal lately. Maybe she just wanted to move on with her life and stuff. But yeah. Let's see how this ends.
Okay, read it one more time. Say it one more time.
Okay, that's expo, E-X-P-O, at i-o.net.au.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate that you're willing to hear from our viewers. This is truly an incredible case. And if people do want to learn more, even though they may not be able to find your book, perhaps they can find more information about you on the internet anyway. Do you feel that there's any site in particular that might be more accurate for...
MUFON?
MUFON, okay. Go to MUFONLA.com. Very good. I'm glad you feel that's responsible. MUFONLA.com will have accurate information about Kelly Cahill's case. Her last name is Cahill, just so the viewers know how to spell that when they're typing it in.
All right.
Here we go.
Wow.
I'm curious about Pat. Maybe she's embellishing. Pat, tell us more about why you think that must be the case. What triggered that thought for you and what you were watching or hearing?
Yeah. And then we have another comment here. I wanted to read. She claimed the other witnesses were not known to her. Her phone records say differently. Interesting. I did not know that. I'd like to learn more about that, if that's true. I know the two women were friends, but did they ever get into contact with Kelly? Yeah, I'd love to know where you found that information. Right. What do you think? What do you make of the whole interview, I guess?
I think she's telling the truth about what happened with her. That doesn't mean embellishment doesn't happen, but I've said it so many times on the show. Being a trial lawyer, there's not just two perspectives. There might be 10. You might have witnesses to a car wreck from different angles, plus the people who are in the cars involved in the wreck. And everybody's story is going to be slightly different and may even conflict at times, depending on where they were and what they saw, or more importantly, what they didn't see or hear. So I just think she's telling her truth. I'm not reading anything about her in body language or facial expression that she's making this up. And then we add to that things like stopping the reporter when the reporter wants to make the story a little bit bigger on how many time she was visited by a being in her home, and she stopped him, sort of like Betty Hill, and no, we're going to stop there. So I think she's telling the truth. What's your read?
Yeah, I got the same sense. Like I said, she answered so quickly and impulsively that it felt like it was from the gut.
Yeah.
There was, and obviously you can train yourself and convince yourself of things that they become truth. We see this all the time in this field. But at the same time, like, this interview was conducted not that long, after the events themselves took place, allegedly.
Right.
So I don't think that's enough time to really get that good at it. Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know. But like the person said in the chat, if she was communicating with these two women and like coming up with some sort of story, that's obviously an issue. But I would have to see the evidence of that before I make a determination on that. What do you guys in the chat think? Let us know.
Yeah, tell us.
Let us know for sure. I like this comment. Aliens love making men bald. Just like
they get delightful glee in doing that.
Yeah. Sean says, Ryan, please understand that the skeptic debunker community is infested with political leftism. It's just stop. Don't.
And I just said, let's leave politics out of it.
Yeah, Sean, just stop it. This is not the time.
Doesn't help us.
Yeah.
You may feel strongly. You may be right. We may agree. We may disagree. But in this arena,
this is not.
It can only divide us.
Yep. Appreciate your comments on what we're talking about tonight, but leave the politics out of it. This is not the place for that. No more politics in the chat, guys, at all. You will be good. I'm saying it right now. You've been warned. So yeah, love the interview. I believe her. Yeah. So it is what it is. Any last words on Kelly before I move to our next experiencer?
No, I think that was great fun, quite interesting.
Really interesting. So a year later, another woman in Australia would come forward with an event that occurred, and again, multi-witness by her husband, nonetheless. So I want to play this video of a woman named Grace Akeu. Okay.
I think.
Okay. And this is her. In 1994, Grace and her family in Victoria experienced a disturbing series of UFO encounters over 2 weeks, beginning when a glowing object pursued their car and hovered overhead, during which Grace saw a threatening non-human figure. Weeks later, their son reported a presence in his room accompanied by a familiar humming sound, and the same UFO was seen hovering above their home.
Wow.
So I love you too, Sean. I love you too, buddy. Thank you for your.
That's how you need to do the politics thing. Everybody can have their opinion, and then we talk aliens.
Love you like a brother. Let's get to Grace, because this video really hit me, and you'll see why when I play it. It's funny. This was in a special that Kelly Cahill also took part in. Yeah.
How are we just hearing about these people?
Because Australia doesn't get the credit it deserves. Grant and I talk all about that in our episode this upcoming week on the podcast. Like, one of the most dramatic and multi-witness UFO landings of all time took place in Australia, and no one freaking talks about it.
Right.
It's all Rua, Zimbabwe, and and Carhenia. No, I'm just kidding. I love this. But okay, let's find this video here, and then just a couple more videos, and I promise we'll get you guys out of here. We're going on 2 hours. I know. Okay, here is Grace Akeu.
Great.
Me, I can be honest, I could say that I was in that category of being naive. I didn't believe it. I didn't really believe it, because I had to see. It's like I would have to see it with my own eyes.
Grace's experience starts in the early hours of the morning, travelling home with 3 girlfriends. Victoria, who can't be identified, was one of the women in the back seat.
It's when I got a bit further down the hill that I noticed on the right-hand side of me some long oblong-shaped lights. I didn't know what they were. I mean, I only sort of caught a glimpse of a bright orange light sort of shining through. As I got down the hillside and started to come around the corner by this little hotel that takes us back through the back roads towards the freeway, one of the girls in the back noticed a very bright white light with a type of blue haze around it.
Wow.
When the girls were sort of saying, oh, maybe, you know, like it's a UFO, and, you know, we sort of like just laughed it off and said, don't be so ridiculous.
The women continue their trip, but further down the road, more lights appeared.
I heard Victoria and one of the other girls in the back there, they were commenting on something that was behind us. They actually thought somebody was coming up behind us, like a truck or something, because it was moving fairly fast and very bright. It was just such a bright, blinding light. It was orange like a sunset, and it was just spanning across the road.
I got really scared, and I said to Grace, quick, just step on it. Because I knew there was a town just a kilometre up the road.
As we got closer into the middle of this car parking area and looked up, we could see this ship. Well, that's what you'd have to call it, because it was, you know, definitely not an aeroplane, and it was something from definitely not this world, that's for sure.
It sort of moved across from this direction straight over the top of us. Sort of disappeared into a gully where we lost sight of it.
We were scared for our safety. I mean, I've got to be honest, I think it's the first time in my life that I could identify of anybody telling me that they were scared they were going to die. Because I was. When I got to the opening of the drive here, the other girls noticed that there was something else up, some activity up there in the sky. We were still scared. We didn't know what they were either. They seemed to be moving in a direction that this other craft had gone over and gone down.
So the first thing you think of, just pull off someone's driveway.
And as I pulled in, the light was so blinding, it actually was hurting our eyes to look at it. Then I noticed a figure coming. It wasn't a human. It definitely was no human, that's for sure. I felt threatened by it. I felt really, really threatened by it. That was the closest thing I've ever experienced, the thought of actually, you know, coming close to death, I suppose, which sounds pretty silly, but the fear that I had was like that, like I wasn't going to see my family again. And the weird thing is that it's not the normal thing to talk about and for people to accept. But, you know, it's been 3 years now, and I still feel very distressed by it.
Oh.
3 years and she's still
Yes.
wrestling with that. Man, that's tough.
It's better than almost 50, but
Yeah.
I'll tell you, when I finally figured out what had happened to me, I was able to, you know, to make some peace around it. But I was so upset. I was upset at my government because I thought once it clicked for me, if they have known this all my life, and I have spent literally a lifetime searching for an answer about what happened to me, the disappointment is not going to be manageable, you know, for me. So I have a feeling, not necessarily government related, but this is the unhealthy part of the secrecy. It leaves humans basically in the emotional ditch and on the emotional quest, you know, for literally decades. So my heart goes out to her. I understand that feeling, you know.
I'm sure you do. Wow. Yeah. That's such a good way of putting it. Okay, let's keep going.
All right.
Weeks, I felt a lot of doubt with what happened to Grace. I didn't believe it, truly believed it, because I hadn't experienced anything like that myself. So I didn't show it either. I mean, I didn't show that I didn't believe it, because I think it was important that I looked like I was supporting her, so that otherwise, she might go sort of, off the rails if she didn't feel she had some support from her husband.
But 2 weeks later, those doubts disappeared.
What's work?
Late one night, they were both woken by their distressed 15-year-old son.
He was dead set that he had presence in his room. There was somebody in his room. And one thing that he did kept saying at that time was that, can you hear that sound? And he kept pointing up to the ceiling. And we could hear this low drone sound. I knew then I'd heard that sound before. We got back into bed and I was laying there. And I thought, do I lie here and just let this thing go through and just, try and wipe it off as another bad experience? Or do I actually get up and look, and if it is what I think it is, then maybe my husband will be able to see for the first time and he will believe.
I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. When you see an object that's just sort of floating through the air, like at slow pace, and you think to yourself, oh my God, it struck me as, being awesome. It's just something unbelievable.
It was a relief that he was able to see this thing, and all I kept saying was that was the thing that was there the night when I was with the others.
Certainly by its nature, by the way characteristics of the way it just hovered across the house at a slow pace. Nothing man-made, not from this country, not from this earth, I should say.
Even though Grace and her husband ended up experiencing the same craft, their ways of coping with it differ.
You either accept it or you don't accept it, and I tend to say now, after I've seen it with my own eyes, I accept it, but I don't, harp on about it and talk about it, and if it's just one of those things that you try and leave as a part of your life that's happened, and let's get on with things, let's move on from here, you see. And that's how I sort of try and treat it, rather than try and find an explanation as to what it is.
Yep. Yeah, I really don't have a theory yet. It's basically, it's more the fear. Again, I don't know why, because I'm still here and I am healthy, but the fact is it's just a worry, because you don't know. You just don't know.
Wow.
I'm so grateful that he got to see it too. It makes a big difference for your partner to experience it. You will recall at the Santa Fe house, looking over the Jemez Mountains where Los Alamos is. I constantly see these orbs and have had one telepathic exchange with them. And that night, I sent back the message, please hold on, let me wake my husband. And I think you asked me why I hadn't gotten a photo. And I hadn't gotten a photo or a video because I had to make a choice.
Yeah.
And it was more important to me in that moment for my husband to get to see and experience some of this. And so, boy, my heart goes out to her and him. And I think my husband's a little bit like he was, like, okay, I get it, I accept it, but I don't know what to do with it.
Right.
Neither do the rest of us.
Nobody does. Yeah, no. I understand both sides of the coin for sure. Yeah, again, the most powerful part of this story, I think, is the husband not really believing her, but still being willing to support her, and then experiencing it himself. Which is, wow, that, like, you can't ask for a better validation.
Yeah.
She was so traumatized by this, clearly.
She was traumatized. And I hate it for her. I hate it for all of those who had to learn this the hard way, so to speak.
For sure. For sure. Well, that's it for abductions, Suzanne. But do you want a good old-fashioned close encounter before we close things out?
Oh, yeah. Let's go there. Let's go.
Okay.
There.
So we're going to end things tonight, guys, with the Nolles family close encounter of 1988, which also took place in Australia. That is our theme tonight, Australian cases, abductions first. But this case is crazy. I actually talked about this briefly on a pretty big news station in Australia. They had me come on to talk about it. I'll play the clip after this. Okay. But let's talk about the Nolles family. And then we're going to watch an interview with them. It's not too long, but yeah, I think, again, it's really important to hear from these witnesses firsthand. Good. So on January 20th, 1988, I think I have an image of them. I do. Okay. January 1988, the Knowles family reported that a glowing egg-shaped UFO chased their car across the Nullarbor Plain in Western Australia, emitting a loud noise, dropping debris, and allegedly lifting their vehicle off of the ground. The family claimed heat effects, residue on the car, and physical symptoms afterwards. Have you ever heard of this case?
No, I haven't.
Oh man, it's a good one. And again, it just shows how much these things affect people.
Sure.
And there's something about Australian cases where it seems to, like, I don't know, like there's an air of mocking when it comes to how the news covers it.
Right.
Not in the first interview we watched, but
Right.
But when it comes to these witnesses, they just seem so damn traumatized for
Sure.
some reason. I don't know what it is, but do you want to watch the Knowles family?
Yes, let's watch.
Okay. Here we go.
Great graphic.
Right?
A Perth family claims it's been confronted by a UFO while crossing the Nullarbor. Their stories being backed by other motorists, and the crew of 2 South Australian fishing boats have also reported being buzzed by a UFO. Faye Nolles and her 3 sons claim an orange blob picked their car up off the highway. They fled in terror into the scrub until the object disappeared.
For the Knowles family, it was to have been a routine drive across the Nullarbor. That all changed as the family approached the town of Mundrabilla on the Air Highway. They claim that's when they had their unexpected and terrifying encounter with the unknown.
The car was shaking. I went down the window and I said it's on top of the roof. And all this, I don't know what it was, it all come inside the car like smoke. We thought we were all dead.
And I went down my window and Mum said there's something on the roof. And I said, no, come off it, you've got to be joking. And she went down her window and she put her hand on the roof and she goes, my God. And she goes, what is it? And no, I swear to God, I'm not lying. I swear to God, I opened up my window, the car started going out of control. And all this smoke, and it was like smoke. I'm not lying. It was like smoke. And gases all started coming in the car. And me and my brother started to go crazy, I thought I was going in my head. Felt like my brain was getting sucked out.
Another motorist and a truck driver also witnessed the incident. They confirm the Knowles family story. Police are investigating the claim. They say the car did have dents on the roof and an ash substance inside. Late today, the Knowles family returned to the scene of their experience for the last time.
And you won't travel that stretch of road again?
No way.
You don't even wish to travel in your own car?
No.
Mrs. Faye Knowles and her 3 sons, Patrick, Sean and Wayne, say their car was chased in the night by a giant glowing egg-shaped object. The car was picked up, they say, shaken and dropped so hard it blew a tyre. They say the car was showered with dark ash, and police have confirmed that ash from somewhere was found on and in the car. A truck driver has corroborated the story, and 2 fishing boats in the Gulf have also reported UFO sightings about half an hour later. I have the Knowles family and our sister station, SAS7 in Adelaide, for this exclusive interview. Mr. Knowles, how are you?
Not bad, thank you.
If I said to you, and one of your sons, if say Patrick had come home late tonight and said to you, Mum, I'm late because I was crossing the Nullarbor and a big giant thing picked up my car and shook it and dropped it again, what would your reaction be if you hadn't been there?
I would say he was crazy.
Had you believed in UFOs before this?
Never. No.
Were you at all tempted not to tell the police because people may take the mickey out of you?
We weren't going to go, but we made up our mind to go, because it might happen to someone else.
Well, let's go back to stage 1. What time in the morning was it when it first happened?
About 5 o'clock in the morning.
And you were driving which way?
Towards Victoria.
And
so, might I remind you that Kelly Cahill's event happened in Victoria, Grace's event happened in Victoria, and the Knowles family were on their way to Victoria.
It's crazy.
I just noticed that. I didn't even mean to do that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Something's going on.
Also, the mother there, my God, she is not having any of the humor.
No,
this guy.
she's not.
No. This clearly happened. Something happened.
That's right. That's right.
Let's get back to our Australian George Knapp, as someone in the chat
I
said.
thought the very same thing. That was a great
sure.
observation by Mint Cornetto.
Yes, good job, man. I love it.
Did it suddenly come up behind you, in front of you, or just hover over the car?
It was on the middle of the road. It was, just in the middle of the road.
Up in front of you?
Yeah, in front of us.
How big?
Well, it looked like truck lights to us, I didn't take much notice. Sean said to me, "Oh, that's something unusual now." I said, "I've come off it, and you've got to be joking."
Was it still dark?
It was pretty dark then, yeah.
And you thought it was, Patrick, you thought they were just headlights sort of coming towards you?
I did, you see something like that, you wouldn't take much notice. You just think it's a truck or a car.
Were you all awake at the time?
Yes, we were.
Did it make a noise?
Oh, it was terrible. It was terrifying. What was the noise like?
It was like a humming sound.
And so when it got, you kept driving, approaching it, did it veer over your top of you or what?
I was driving.
You were driving, Sean?
Mm.
And did you drive straight at it? Did it leap over you or what?
No, I had to put my foot down because it was chasing us.
Well, did it get behind you somehow then?
What it was a fair hike back before it even jumped on my roof. Like you explained this, like it was a fair distance back, and the next second it was on the roof.
Did you hear a clunking noise when it got on the roof?
Yes, we did.
And then, Wayne, after that, how long did all this go for? When did it lift the car off the ground?
Start shaking and start lifting the ground up. The car, start lifting it.
What were you saying to each other?
We thought we were dying. We didn't know what to do.
Did you shout, you cry? Or?
I was screaming, I was in hystericals.
We were talking like aliens.
Explain this. If you're doing 200 kilometres, you blow out a back tyre, would you roll a car or what?
Yeah.
Does that explain it?
How long were you there? How long were you suspended? How far off the ground do you think you were?
Well, we don't know, because we were stunned, we were in a state of shock, because we don't know what was going on. All of a sudden, this thing's on our roof and pulling the car up, we don't know what's going on.
So then it dropped you and you blew a tyre.
Yeah.
What happened next? Did you get out of the car?
Oh, I wound down the window and I felt this thing on the roof, And I said, gee, there's something on top of our roof. I said, it's landed on the roof or something, And I didn't know what to do, and I was screaming. And as soon as I said that, a little this smoke stuff come into the car. The car was covered in all black stuff, wasn't it?
Well, like grit or soot or ash?
It was like a soot. Black soot stuff, just coming on top of us.
So then what did you all do?
We thought we were dying. Then we got out the car, and we hid behind the little tree in the bushes, and it couldn't find us. Then we jumped back in the car.
Was it still there?
It was still there, waiting for it, looking for us.
Was it on the road or
No.
moving around?
We don't know. It was up the road a bit further from us. I'm sorry.
That's all right. And so up the road a bit further, then did it come back looking for you?
Yeah, and then we took off in the bushes.
How long did you stay in the bushes?
Oh, about 15 minutes. Then all of a sudden it took off again, and when we hopped in the car to take off again, it come after us again. Wouldn't leave us alone.
Well, did you... who changed the tyre?
Sean took him 2 minutes to change the tyre.
I bet it did.
We left the jack and everything. We just left everything up there. We just took off.
And at that stage, did you think you were involved with a flying saucer?
Yes, we really did. We said we're dead. We thought we were really dying.
The question this morning that possibly, the argument against it, whether it was UFO or not, that possibly it was a freak. It was what they call ball lightning. Do you believe that?
No, that's not true. No way.
If it's happening for about an hour and a half.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
okay.
right.
So
Not doesn't work like that.
I just did that whole filming thing on the Colores incident, your
Yes.
favorite
My
UFO
favorite.
wave.
That's right.
And one of the explanations that skeptics like to use with the Colores UFO attacks in Brazil was that it was ball lightning. And I'm just like,
no way.
yeah, for weeks on end to hundreds of people for an
And-
extended amount of time.
Or
Like, come
shooting
on.
beams down to people and taking things from their bodies with those beams. No.
We still don't understand what ball lightning is.
No.
And our good friend Micah Hanks would even say, you cannot explain one phenomena with another anomalous phenomenon.
Exactly. It doesn't work like that. This is not
No.
helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad this guy, one of the sons,
Like,
said,
no.
yeah, for 2 hours. No.
Does not work like that.
I doubt if it's a ball.
Do you think all this went on for about an hour and a half?
It went on for about an hour and a half.
Wouldn't leave us alone.
Did
Kept
any other
tormenting
cars
us.
or trucks pass you at
Yes,
that time?
they did. There was a couple of trucks.
We tried to pull one up, but,
We-
the lady wouldn't pull up for us because she's a lady truckie. She told us when we got up the road that she didn't know it was us. We were in trouble.
Did she see something?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they came around last night to have an interview with, what's his name?
Fred, I forget his second name now, but they're the ones that reported to the police. There was no witness that said they seen something on our car, but they won't give their name.
Went to the police.
Did it, when you were trying to put it back together again today and piecing together what it might have been, did you cross your minds, maybe it was some military weapon, maybe it was some...
No way. It was after us.
Why do you think that they'd single out your car?
We don't know. It was chasing other cars and all of a sudden it come after us. We don't really know. Because there was 4 of us in the car.
So none of you got physically hurt? Nobody tried to... You didn't see any little green men or any men from outer space?
No way.
Before all of this happened, have any of the 4 of you, believed in flying saucers?
No way.
We all thought
No.
I thought it was all a load of crap, you know. I thought, come on, you know, stuff like that, there's only in the movies, you know. But the way it happened, it actually seemed like it was a movie.
One of the policemen has already said that that when you finally talked to them, that your mother was really shocked. You really looked like you'd seen something horrible out there in the desert.
We did.
We were like ghosts. We were just like white ghosts.
Did you manage to sleep last night?
No, I couldn't sleep. I'm too scared to turn the light off now. And when we're driving along in the car, I'm frightened that it's behind us all the time. That's chasing us.
Are you likely to drive home again?
No, I don't think so.
Not through that way, no way. We're catching a train home to Perth.
Taking a train back.
Now, the ash that was on the car and in the car, was the ash still there when you got to the police station?
Yes, we left everything. They said not to clean it, don't do nothing with the car. We're getting it all checked out for us. So.
Is that ash being analysed?
Yep.
Yeah, everything is.
Everything's going to be
You
done.
should set it higher.
Do you now believe that there is life in outer space?
No, actually, I'm not saying believe it or don't, you know, but what I'm saying is there is something out there which you can't explain, which I don't know.
There's definitely something out there. Something's got to be done. Someone else is going to get really hurt.
What could be done?
We don't really know.
And just one final question about the look of it. Do you all agree on the description of it, or do you have different ideas?
No,
what do you think?
we definitely
Faye?
agree on the light.
Whole lot.
Faye, what sort of light do you think it was?
It was all of a sudden it was a small light, and all of a sudden it comes so big like this, like a big ball.
Could you see anything in the middle of it, anything metallic?
We don't really know. You know, we're in a state of shock. I didn't really take notice.
Patrick, is that the sort of thing you saw?
Big ball of light. Yeah.
It was like it looked like a truck headlight, and on top it looked like it had a light, high beam, like a light high beam, and it like a flash. It was kept on flashing, like a...
It's terrible.
And Sean, how do you describe it?
Sean?
You'd rather not remember?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. All right, we'll leave it at that. I thank you for your time.
Wow. That was fascinating.
Man. This was like days after it happened, too.
Yeah. Also, don't you wonder, these car abductions, you know, Betty and Barney Hills was a car, they were a car abduction. The technology and power that has to be available to effectuate that is just unfathomable to me.
Yeah. Yeah. You hear so many cases where it stops the car dead in its tracks,
and the car goes back somewhere where it wasn't, or the opposite direction from where it was originally headed, or
yeah. I don't know what to make of this case. It was like the mother mentioned, it was like a targeted attack. And yeah, I mean, I don't know the aftermath, like the tests that were done on the car. I'd have to look into that. But I mean, look at the last moments there was Sean, I think the younger kid there, like he clearly was traumatized. Yeah.
I hope they were able to make peace with it. But
Me too.
Again, you know, one thing we could do when he asked her, what do we do? I don't know. Here's an idea. Let's study it. Let's take a professional approach like France and Japan, and let's do it the right way. And then here's one more little idea. Let's tell the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Yep.
know?
For the sake of these people,
For these
all of them.
humans, right? It does not help
It
to
does not
be
help.
left in the dark.
Yeah, yeah. It's fascinating. I mean, these cases were pretty scary that we covered tonight, but for every one of those, I'm sure there have been positive anomalous experiences in Australia as well. But yeah, this family was clearly very traumatized by this. And yes, I do need to find that yellow suit that my man's wearing, and that it was awesome.
We're going to need to see
Awesome.
that on Sunday during the live stream at
Right?
5 EST.
He looked like he could be in like a pop band or
He
something.
did one of the
back
Bee
in the
Gees
80s.
back in the
Bee
day.
Gees. Yep. I'm sure after that interview, they got a lot of fan mail.
Oh, I
at the
bet.
news
I
station.
bet. I'd love to
Yeah.
know what's going on with them today.
Yeah, me too. I mean, gosh, 88. Who
Yeah.
knows if any of them are still with us? Probably. I
Yes.
mean, probably. I'm sure. I don't know about the mother, but I'll look into it. I've been meaning to do like an episode on this case for a while now.
I think
But
it'd be a great one.
I think so too. And you know, Suzanne,
What?
when you have cases in Australia about UFOs, you think you'd want to talk to an Australian UFO researcher, right?
Yeah, you'd want to.
You would want to.
Yeah.
So then why in the hell did they get this American asshole to come on the biggest news station in all of Australia to talk about UFOs? That's my big question for you.
Interesting.
Take a
So-
look at this dumbass. That's the only way to put it.
Looked into UFO cases in Australia. Tell me about the cases in Australia.
There are two cases in Australia that I've
It looks
specifically
familiar.
looked
I'm
at.
trying to place it.
One was back in the 70s with a family, the Nolles family, who were
80s,
traveling
Ryan,
through
not the
Perth,
70s.
and they actually, while they were on the road, a UFO came down and landed on the roof of their car and lifted their car off of the road. And every member of the family had the same story to tell. There were, the tires blew out, there was damage to the car, so something happened. And there were other witnesses to this as well. So this is a very dramatic case out of Australia. The other one happened in the mid-90s in Sydney with a gentleman who's had lifelong UFO experiences. He even invited news reporters and investigators to come out, and all of these people had UFO sightings with him. So talk about changing your life. This guy is being followed by UFOs every waking moment. So it's really interesting. And I will say some of our best cases come out of Australia.
And do you believe all the people you talk to?
Yes, I believe the individuals believe what they saw. That's as far as I can go in terms of saying that.
Sounds like fascinating reading. Thank you so much for your time. Ryan Sprague.
Look at you all over the Aussie news.
I
know about this.
I know, right? I don't know why they, that was back when I think maybe when Arrow had first been established, and they were like, whoa, that's pretty interesting. Let's talk to someone in America.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they're like, but it is Australia. So if you know of any cases, I'm like, yeah, I've got some in my books that I knew of the Knowles case at that point. So I kind of did a little crash course, and then for some reason they had me on. But I love the Knowles case. I want to dig deeper into it.
I think you
for
should.
sure.
I think that'd be a great podcast episode.
I think so.
And this is funny. J. Allen, no, it was not Jeremy Corbell.
For once, yeah. For once. It was
For
not.
once.
Yeah. This is okay. We're gonna close things up, but I'm just going to our starred stuff here before we get out of here, guys.
Yeah.
And again, this is your last chance. If you guys want to get a super chat or super sticker in, we will highlight it and answer your questions. You also be entered into a contest to win one of my signed books if you want it. Andrew Berger says, I've used this as a conversation starter. If you've been abducted by aliens, what do you want to know? I thought my answer was going to be easy, and now I'm like, I don't know if I would want to know.
I want to know.
Yeah.
I want
Yeah,
to know.
because you very well could have been. I'm just going to say.
I have zero memory of anything like that. But if it happened, I would like to add it to the data bank in my brain.
Okay. Okay.
And our wonderful Pat Gallagher. Thank you, Pat. Without you
The
to
poll.
remind us, we would always forget the poll.
Every time. That's classic Ryan. I'll go to it in just a sec. Thank you, Pat. Love you, brother. Yes. I would like to know.
Okay. What was your deciding factor?
I think in the long run, if I was abducted, it's for a reason. I do believe that every individual who's been abducted, it was for a reason. I don't believe it was some fishing effort where they just plopped down and grabbed whoever they could,
Right.
for
Something's
dinner or
happened.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there is a reason they go to the lengths in which they do and the people that they choose. So I don't believe I have been abducted. I never have gotten that sense in any way, shape, or form. I have no missing time during my UFO experiences, nothing like that. I've had people at UFO conferences be like, yo, you were totally on the craft with me. And I'm like, that's a good pickup line right there. Yeah.
That
I like
is, yeah.
that. I like that.
I don't have that memory.
Yeah. No.
Glad you remember. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would. I asked Claudette, the one that I spoke to who was abducted as a child.
Yes.
And I asked her, would you want to like go under hypnotic regression to dig up more of the memories? And she's like, nope, I'm good. Nope, never. I don't ever want to know. I don't want to know more of what happened to me. And I'm like, all right, that's fair.
Enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. Everybody has a different perspective. And I suspect the absence of trauma at the time in our experiences probably makes it easier for us to say, yes, we'd like to know more. If you're traumatized in that moment, and I was scared, but I certainly was not traumatized at the time. I wouldn't use that word to describe it. I was terrified, but I wasn't traumatized. But maybe if you're traumatized, maybe that's an easier no, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to add to what I've already processed. Enough is enough.
Exactly. Yeah, I never fault anyone who's had any sort of traumatizing experience to not want to dig further into it. That is your life, your journey, your truth. Like that's up for you. That's up to you. That's up to you. I do want to shout out Riney Horn here. See a lifetime of UFOs in British Columbia on Somewhere in the Skies. I have a whole episode of Riney Horn's experiences, so you guys should definitely go back in the archives and check that out. It's a fantastic episode.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see, what else did we have here? And then I promise we're getting out of here. I didn't report any of mine for 20 years, but the next day I heard from another witness description of the same craft over the radio. I suspect was a nosy neighbor watching me have a close encounter.
Exactly. I love that though. And this is why we need to be more honest and open about the topic, because answers can come, support can come, validation can come.
Validation.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
To what you've experienced. You don't have to be alone in it sometimes.
Exactly. You are never alone.
Yes.
Yeah. And we are definitely not alone.
No,
if this episode is this episode said anything for sure.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
All
I
right.
think that's it.
I think we did it.
Fascinating. Yeah. Before we
kind of liked hearing it cold too. I don't get that
Yes.
very often. You don't either. It's nice
think
to
it's
kind of
good.
hear it cold. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. As everyone knows, we do our homework throughout the week for the live streams on Sunday. But these more impromptu live streams, we're just winging it, baby.
We
We're
are.
going in cold. Yeah. And it's
Great
been going
way to-
great.
Yeah, it's a great way to interact during the week, not have to wait till Sunday. But it's also mind expanding. There's so much more to learn.
Right. Because we get so focused on the current news. And, with the podcast, I am also doing that where I'm doing interviews and stuff that I tend to forget the rich history of ufology and the things we can uncover and unpack. We're not just going to cover like old cases. I want to dive into like other things like quantum theory and entanglement and like consciousness. Like I want to go woo with
I do
this stuff,
too.
Suzanne. Yeah, I
I do
think it's
too.
fun. I think
Yeah.
it's fun. Well, we're not done with Australia
No,
because
we're
this
not.
upcoming Monday,
Yeah, this is exciting.
yeah, I'm going to have our really good friend and colleague, Grant Levac, on the show to talk all about the 60th anniversary of the Westall UFO incident, the craziest and most well-documented UFO landing in Australia. And we break it down. We hear interviews with the firsthand witnesses of the Westall event when they were children. Now, you know, they're older and they're ready to unpack these things, and they did that with Grant, and we'll feature those interviews in the episode and some other goodies in that as well. So be on the lookout for that in the coming days on the podcast, guys. Make sure you rate, review, subscribe wherever you can. I would truly, truly appreciate that. Apple and Spotify is the best place to do that. But anywhere you listen to the podcast, we would greatly appreciate that. If you're just watching this on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe and do all that YouTubey stuff. We would certainly appreciate that too. That helps us get boosted up in the algorithms. Let me know if you like the vertical version that we did tonight, that you're maybe watching on YouTube that way, or if you like our normal, you know, kind of widescreen rectangle landscape version. Yeah, which we're used to, but I get it. People watch their phones vertically. That's a thing. So if you like that, let us know. And we'll kind of look at the numbers and see if it's worth continuing to do that. I don't see the harm, but who knows? Who knows? I missed a comment there. I apologize. Cyan said something.
Cyan, and it's not showing up in the chat. Everybody, YouTube is really messed up in the
It
chat
is,
right
yeah.
now. We're even getting warnings inside our
StreamYard
podcast software. So it's just weird. Cyan, your comment's not showing up in the chat. See, we have one other one too. Hold on. We have someone else not showing up.
Oh,
But we would love to talk to these people.
Yes. If you've had experiences, guys, reach my emails in the show notes, or Suzanne's as well. You can reach out to us. We'd love to discuss you either sharing it on a witness accounts episode, or if you don't feel comfortable doing it in audio or video, if you just want to like write it out and have us, we can give you some feedback. We can't obviously explain what happened to you. That's not our jobs. I don't want that responsibility because I was not there when it happened to you, but I'm there to listen always. That's like what I do. So, yep, there's our emails. Thank you, Suzanne.
There we go. You're
Appreciate
welcome.
that. And there's some new people here tonight. Thank you, guys. Thank you for checking us out. This is really working. I love, like, we're building our community here. And
yes, and we love
having a
seeing
good
you in
time.
the chat and part of the conversation.
For sure. For sure. Well, hey, listen, it's getting to be 11:30 p.m. in the UK. So you European people, it's time to get ready for beddy bye.
Yes, and all for you Americans, it's the cocktail hour.
It's cocktail. Oh, jealous.
I hear a martini being shaken off in the distance.
Clink, clink. Yep, that's what that is. I want that. What was that? Karihulu, Karahia. What was that drink?
Oh yeah, what was that? Hold
I
on.
don't know.
I don't know. Oh no, we've lost it already.
We're done. We're losing it. So we got to get out of here. But thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Very
Appreciate the
much
streams.
so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Suzanne, appreciate you coming on tonight as always.
Glad to be
and
here.
where can people reach you if they want to?
SuzanneLanders@me.com. Happy to help with a witness account or with anything else you'd like to talk about. You can also find me on Facebook, which is where I primarily live. And then I monitor Ryan's conduct on Twitter at Suzanne Landers.
You're not doing a good job lately. No, I'm just kidding.
So look for us there. Wherever you find Ryan, you'll see me somewhere nearby. You won't miss us.
For sure. At Somewhere Skies Pod or at Ryan Sprague. I'm going through puberty tonight, guys. Welcome. What a special night for all of us.
Welcome to spring.
Yeah, if you want to hear me bitch about Lacatsky, that's the place to do it for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's spicy.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you again for joining us for another impromptu live.
The poll. We forget even when you remind us. And look at what's on my desk. It says poll.
Yeah.
But no, we forget it.
Okay, here we go. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I asked, do you believe the alien abduction case of Kelly Cahill? Out of 32 votes, 28% of you said yes, 6% of you said no, 56% said I'm undecided, and 9% say aspects of it, but not all. That's fair.
Interesting. And the undecided number surprises me.
That's huge. Yeah, that's the biggest one.
Big percent. Yeah.
I think that's good for an alien abduction because we rarely have proof. But I would say there is some pretty convincing evidence with this case. So
I think so too.
I got to get my hands on one of those books. I mean, I ain't paying no $200 for it, but we'll see.
Exactly.
We shall see. Awesome. All right, let's get out of here. I love you guys.
Right.
Thank you. Like, subscribe, rate, review, do all those amazing things. And we will see you here this Sunday for our normal news show, Somewhere in the Skies Live. So, yeah, that'll do it. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And remember, as always, keep your feet on the ground, but never stop searching. Take it,
Somewhere
Susan.
in the skies.
There's nothing to hide. There's nothing to hide at all.
Spectre Vision Radio.